Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're at the critical moment, a turning point perhaps. We've called in those demons from the seventh circle of hell with their law degrees, bar associations, and paperwork. That's right, lawyers. The ultimate weapon in the fight against government bodies. Legal teams. Alright. We're gonna go see if the guy in charge is available. Someone's running off to fetch him. Haruyama-kun. It's been a while. Comparing lawyers to demons isn't fair to demons. They have souls. That's true. Demons do possess souls. Lawyers long ago traded theirs away for power, and then, of course, earned them, and now they just hold souls in lieu, or probably wield them in some other way. I don't know. They're lawyers. Nobody knows what they do with them. So, it's been a while. Representative Sonosaki, how have you been? Well, I'm here today as a member of the Hinamizawa Town Council. May I see the head of office, please? Of course. You take them to the reception area inside the boss's room. Serve them some tea. I guess the power of a representative really can get officials moving. I heard there's both prefectural and municipal representatives in the Sonosaki family. We have the power of both of them today. Oh boy. It's like you show up and you're like, well, I have your municipal representative and I have your prefectural rep. You know, the federal and the provincial rep. You're gonna be in some trouble if you mess with these guys. And that means we have nothing to fear. We were inside his office, but the head of the office wasn't to be found. I'm sure he's somewhere in the building. All the exits are blocked. There's no way he could escape from us. I mean, he better not be thinking he can hide from us all day. The head of the office, in fact, was peeping out through the blinds of the meeting room on the second floor, shaking in fear. Why are they inside the building? What are the police doing? Well, actually, both the prefectural and municipal Sonosaki representatives are here, and they have a lawyer with them too. They're asking for an answer, but only management has the authority to respond. Okay, I've got it. Today's Saturday. It's nearly 3, right? I'll just stay here until then. Have them leave after we close up. Meanwhile, I'll talk with the manager about what to do next. I thought he told you to concede. He said something about the town council. I was expecting a bunch of neighborly old men. I never thought I'd see representatives and lawyers and yakuza. Who'd have thought there'd be 200 people out there? Well, that's Hinamizawa. Anyway, the office closes in 10 minutes. I'm sure they'll threaten me if I meet with them. I'm not going to concede. That's my duty as a civil servant. I've been working for the government for 40 years. I'm not ashamed to boast about that. I'll never compromise just because some gangster threatens me. In the next moment, the phone in the conference room rang loudly. Has he been speaking too loudly? Don't mess with the Sonosaki clan. Apparently they don't kill anyone, but they do have a ton of lawyers. Seems like it's working out for them. The head of the office nearly jumped out of his skin. Scared even of the phone, he told the manager to tell whoever it was he wasn't there. Hello? This is Haruyama. Thank you, I'll let him know. Sir, it's the municipality calling. Hello? I'm in deep trouble. There's about 200 people surrounding the consultation center right now. They even have representatives on their side. What do I do? Well, I did tell you this would happen. It's your job as a government to control trouble within the town councils. Do something about this. It's your sworn duty to take care of this. Well, that's not our job. Our job is to support the growth of local communities of the region, and I don't care. Can't you do something about this? Well, at this point, you have no choice but to accept the request. I think you should stop being stubborn about policy. A government is there for its citizens. Isn't that right? Can't you just peacefully accept an appeal? You're an official too, aren't you? How dare you take the side of the town council? I'm not going to concede. I'm going to follow the regulations. Civil service duties to conduct business impartially. I've never broken that rule in my entire career. I passed the administrator's exam because I always follow the rules. Well, it's up to you, I guess. We'll do our best to help. But I told you. I mean, I know I did. I know I told you not to get them upset. Fine, I won't ask for your help anymore. I'm hanging up the phone. This poor guy, he's in a panic over some people outside his building. There isn't even anything being broken. God needs to calm calm the fuck down and think rationally. Sir, even if you manage to get away from them, they'll come back on Monday. What are you doing then? I'm sure the mayor knows about this by now. It'll definitely come up at the weekly meeting. I haven't done anything that would upset the mayor. No matter what he says to me, that's what I'll tell him. The phone rings again. This man is terrified of... This man is going to go home, and if his wife calls him saying she's going to be late getting home from work, he's going to be, like, screaming. Like, he's going to get home, and, like, you know, his son will call him asking for a ride, and he'll just, like, run in terror from the phone right into the street. And it's a horror series, so he'll probably get run over by a car or something. Once again, the head of the office trembled in fear, and the manager had to reluctantly pick up the phone. Yes. Can you transfer it here? Yes, this is the right office. One moment, please, sir. You have a call from City Hall? City Hall? Not the municipal offices? Who is it now? It's the mayor. Yes, that's right. They're members of the town council in Hinamizawa. Yes, I understand. Please listen to what they have to say. No, that's not true. It's important to be impartial, unbiased. You have to act according to the occasion. Yes, please do so. After you're done, please come to the mayor's office and give me your report. I expect you by 6 p.m. Thank you very much. He's got 3 hours. The man spoke with a gentle demeanor, but in a tone that didn't allow objection, and then the elderly man in a double suit set the receiver down. Thank you for that. Oryu was sitting on the couch in the reception area, and Akane was there with her too. Oh, not a problem. It's been a while since you visited City Hall. I was surprised to see you here today. Sorry for the surprise. I'm going to ask someone a favor. I need to see them in person. Thank you, really. Oh, it's no problem at all. I'm sorry our staff were so impolite. I should have taught them better. Maintaining a good relationship between municipal governments and town councils is vital. Or so he says. However, the mayor couldn't believe that Empress Sonozaki came all the way to see him just to save a little girl. It's a huge deal when Oryu comes directly to his office. It's also unusual for her to do things indirectly to begin with. Rather than leading the charge herself, she's having Keiichi Maibara save Satoko. The mayor understood she's doing this so he'd get all the credit. Because of that, he was very interested in the young Keiichi. I mean, he's doing lots of work. He sounds like quite the young man. I can't believe he's gone that far just to save his friend from an abusive relative. I know. He's one of a kind. I'm not worried about the future of Hinamizawa as long as someone like him's around. I could die peacefully now. Please, Mother, don't joke around like that. It was worth living this long to be able to meet someone like him. Wow, she's like, she's really shilling for him. Damn. Take care of that, Keiichi boy, if something happens again. You've grown so fond of him. Are you still mad at me for not having any boys? It was now 3 p.m., and I heard the announcement the center was closing. The head of the office finally showed up in the room. He seemed like a totally different person. When I first met him, he had a cold attitude and responded to questions with blunt answers. But now he's much nicer and agreed with everything we said. I guess the power we held must have intimidated him. If I was alone, I never would have gotten him to listen to me. It was thanks to everyone's support I'm able to talk to him now. Well, he's being less of a dick now. That's good. I understand. I'm sorry for all the confusion. We'll take action immediately. Manager, please call Hojo's house immediately. Yes, sir. Satoko, finally, you're finally free. Teppei stopped kicking her as he heard the phone ring. He could ignore the call, but if it was someone from the Child Consultation Center, they might become suspicious of him. I mean, honestly, you could probably say you were out for dinner with him or something, but he'd hurt Satoko enough to leave bruises. He couldn't let them visit. We had no choice but to deal with them over the phone. That's enough for now. Oh right, last we saw him, he was describing himself as a violent man who could only communicate via hurting people, which is a strange way to describe yourself if I've ever heard one. Like typically you'd have, typically most people are the good guy in their own story. Like even like the people you consider like the most vile people on the planet, they still think they're a good guy. They have their own rationale to make it think like they're doing the reasonable thing, even if like 90% of people would disagree, or they'd just be like not sure why they do what they do, right? But like being like, oh, I'm a horrible person and like hurting people, it's like, okay, well, most people aren't like, I can only ever say people things through violence. That just seems like a weird thing to think. So I think the writers are trying to make us like really dislike him rather than give him a fair shake. But you know, to be fair, he's supposed to be a bad guy. All Satoko could do was curl up and cry. Hello, who is it? Good afternoon. This is the Shishibone Child Consultation Center. Again? Do you guys have nothing better to do? Why don't you stop calling me and work on your other cases? You're getting paid with the taxes I pay, you know. Sorry to interrupt you. One of our social workers will be visiting your home shortly. May I get permission for them to enter the premises, please? Oh, wait. We're cleaning the whole house right now. We can't have any visitors today. Come back some other time. The consultation center wouldn't give up. Teppei wanted to hang up the phone, but if he did, he knew they'd show up for sure. I was told Satoko didn't come to school today. She's home, isn't she? If she's really sick, she should be resting at home, I expect. There's something quite urgent I need to ask her. The hell do you need her for? I'm her guardian. I'll answer you instead. Are you refusing to put her on the phone? I'm not refusing. I'm just saying I'll answer your questions in her place. You see what I'm saying? What's your name anyway? I'm asking one more time. May I speak with Satoko, please? Damn it. He thought dealing with government officials was a bit like playing whack-a-mole. You hit them hard enough and they don't show up for a while. I mean, you should know whack-a-mole. The mole pops up and, well, the game's still going, right? Today, whoever was on the phone seemed so provocative and self-assured, they're like, oh my goodness, we gotta make some fucking decisions now. Teppei sensed they'd definitely come to the house if he didn't put Satoko on. And if they sounded like that over the phone, if they came to the house, they might be bringing more than just a couple people. For all Teppei knew, they might even bring a police officer. And if they did, he couldn't turn them away at the entrance. He knew too well just how scary police officers could be. Especially that portly one, whose name is delicious with an extra O. Oh, look, wait a minute. I'll go and wake her up. Give me some time. He covered the phone with his hand and spoke to Satoko downstairs. Oh, Satoko, the center wants to ask you something. Can you come to the phone, please? Even though he'd just been beating her, Teppei was addressing Satoko in a sweet, phony voice. It would disturb people to hear him talk like that. Satoko knew his sweet voice was the scariest tone he had. She couldn't refuse after hearing him talk like that, so she obeyed him and went upstairs. Teppei grabbed Satoko's shoulder with all his might and whispered in her ear, no matter what happens, we're a happy family, right? Don't you dare forget that, alright? Yes. Remember, if you upset me, I'll destroy Satoshi's room, and if you behave well, I promise I won't enter his room again. I mean, he's already broken the lie once and was, like, kicking you because you disrupted him, but, keep believing him. Is that a deal? Huh? Huh? He squeezed her shoulders even tighter. Satoko contorted her face in pain. We're making up now, right? Huh? Huh? Yes. We're happy family. Teppei gave the phone to Satoko as soon as she nodded, and he stood behind her, continuing to grip her shoulders tight. It was like a raptor gripping its prey with its sharp talons. Satoko Hojo-san, this is Hariyama speaking from the Child Consultation Center. How's everything going so far? Are you having any problems with Teppei? The volume on the phone was low enough that Teppei couldn't hear what they were saying. However, he squeezed her shoulders harder and urged her to say something, because silence could be interpreted as a negative answer. Yes, everything's fine between my uncle and I. You don't have any problems with him? Sure, go ahead. Hello? Satoko? It's me, Keiichi. Are you alright? Yeah, it's safe here. Satoko, we're about to come save you. If you admit you need help, the center will put you under their protection immediately. It's not just the center, the mayor's supporting us too. Crazy, isn't it? It's all thanks to the Sonozakis. Mion's grandma's doing all this for you. Satoko always felt bitter towards the Sonozakis because they were often the ones talking about her behind her back, and had her family killed. But she hated Oryu most of all. It didn't make sense to her that Oryu would do anything to help her. Look, I know you went through a lot of hard times after the damn conflict. I didn't notice it, but you were being treated coldly for a long time. But I took care of all those people for you. No one's gonna treat you badly in Hanamizawa again. I wish I could show you all the people who've gathered around the Child Consultation Center right now. Everyone from Hanamizawa is here to save you. They're even skipping the preparation for tomorrow's festival. Huh? Oh, sure. Yeah, I got a message from the Sonozakis. Mion's grandma says, to say hello. She's sorry about how she treated you, and she wants you to come visit her house sometime, you hear? She's on your side now. You went to see them in person, just for you, but, same goes for us, right? We've been coming to the center every day since you were taken away. Everyone's been supporting us, and it's all for your sake. Now that we got the whole village of Hinamizawa on our side. Hang on, Rika wants to talk to you. Satoko? It's Rika. Rika? Keiichi brought it all to an end for you. The people of Hinamizawa aren't going to be mean to you anymore. No one will ignore you when we go shopping together. They won't treat you differently from me anymore. No one's going to treat you coldly anymore. Satoko wasn't sure if she should feel happy or sad that Rika noticed how badly the villagers treated her. All she could do was let out a bitter laugh. I can't believe that. Indeed, I can't believe it either. Rika? Satoko was surprised. She was surprised to hear Rika's voice sound so mature over the phone. She almost sounded like a different person. When you were taken away by your uncle, I thought it was an unchangeable fate. I gave up thinking there was nothing but a dead end ahead of us. I'm sure you felt that way too, but I found out there's no such thing as fate. There's no dead end ahead of us. Keiichi broke that wall down and smashed it into a million pieces. Satoko, don't give in to misfortune. We're almost there. All you need to do is nod your head. But I have to get stronger. That's because of how much you suffered. You're trying to overcome that. You felt guilty towards Satoshi because you hid behind his back when you were abused by your aunt. I know you're trying to take Teppei's abuse as a form of self-punishment. I understand you're trying to get stronger as an apology towards your brother. I can respect that courage. It shows how much you've grown. Satoshi'd be proud if you were right here right now. He'd pat your head. He'd pat it so gently. Maybe. Did you really believe what I just said? It's not good, Satoko. You're nowhere near as strong, Satoshi, not at all. Rika's words were suddenly toned with malice, penetrating Satoko's heart the moment she thought she was saved. You think taking this abuse will make you stronger, but is it really that different from last year? You're just waiting here for Satoshi to come home. You're waiting for him to come back and save you again. You don't even know what kind of strength he held within him. He didn't just cry and quake in fear like you're doing. He fought. He fought his horrible aunt. He fought to save you. Remember the sight of Satoshi standing up to your aunt, the one you cried in terror from with his arms spread wide? Satoshi was just as scared as Satoko was. All she'd ever seen was her brother's back. She had no idea what kind of expression he was wearing on his face. He didn't want to stand in front of his furious aunt, but he had no choice if he wanted to protect his sister. We're trying to convince Satoko to admit she needs help by calling under the guise of Sepia or the Child Consultation Center. Interesting conclusion to this arc, or at least next step. Satoko never once saw how scared he was, and she never once saw how courageous he was in spite of that. Satoshi fought. He didn't just take the violence that was dealt to him. He fought it and struggled against it. I was no different from you once. I stopped fighting because I gave up. I stopped struggling against it. I chose to accept fate and quietly endure my pain. I thought it a waste of time to seek help, just like you. I was waiting for someone to come along who would change my circumstances. But I've decided to fight. That's why I'm on the phone with you now. I'm going to change my fate, all on my own. I'm going to persuade you to nod your head. Satoko, he's right behind you, isn't he? Yes, he's here. Look at his face. See how evil and scary he looks? And realize how brave Satoshi was to fight against that furious face. If you want to give something back to Satoshi, don't take his abuse without seeking help. You just have to do what Satoshi did for you. Can you recognize that? Satoko slowly looked back at her uncle, though she was afraid to do so. What, this handsome man in a Hawaiian shirt with a lit cigarette in his mouth? He was wearing an unpleasantly bored grin while gripping her shoulders tightly. Ultimately, it wasn't even about dealing with her aunt or uncle. It was about dealing with her fear. Satoshi faced his fear. He could have chosen to run or sit and take it, but he fought for his little sister. He fought with that fear, and he didn't falter. And what was Satoko doing? She believed the violence she was suffering was the punishment she deserved. Rika wasn't wrong, though. Satoko wasn't trying to gain strength. She was only shutting herself out until someone came to save her. She wasn't doing anything on her own. She was only waiting for someone else to do something about it. Satoshi faced it. He faced this fear. That was his strength. Are you scared? Are your teeth chattering? Are you feeling shivers running down your spine? That's how Satoshi felt when he tried to protect you. You have to understand that. Do you know what Satoshi wanted from you? Do you know what he was trying to show you? Well, if you don't know, Satoshi will never come back. Huh? What's the deal? What's taking so long? Satoko was consumed by fear. Her teeth were chattering and she felt shivers running down her spine. And that was what Satoshi felt every time she cried. Come on, show us your strength, Satoko. Show Satoshi how much you've grown up over the past year. Show Satoshi you've grown as brave as he is. Rika, but I... Even if she asked for help that very minute, Teppei wasn't just going to disappear. Once she asked for help, she'd need to survive until someone physically came to her house to rescue her. Satoko ached all over. Her wounds were pulsing along with her heartbeat, and she could taste the blood in her mouth. It wasn't as easy as Rika made it sound. One nod wasn't going to solve everything at once. They had no idea how hard it was for her to nod. What did her Nini look like when he protected her? She couldn't remember his face. She remembered the strength in his words, though. Even she may have even heard a little bit of fear in his voice, but even so, he still fought. He faced his fears and fought for her sake. Come on. Satoko was scared, just like Rika said. Her teeth were chattering and she felt shivers running down her spine. But she had to face him. She had to challenge him, to fight him, and to break the cycle. Come on, Satoko. Satoko, I'm gonna give the phone to an employee of the center. Tell them with your own words. Yes. Show me that courage. Hello again, it's Harayama from the center. Please allow me to ask you one more time. Are there any problems between you and your uncle? Satoko looked up at Teppei again as she listened to the question. Looked straight into the face of terror. All she ever did was hide behind Satoshi's back. Show me that courage. It wasn't only Rika, her Nini was watching her too. Me? Excuse me, could you repeat that? Help me? The moment the words left her mouth, Teppei clocked his knees upside her head with every bit of strength he had in him. Satoko rolled down the hallway, still clutching the telephone receiver. Oh, Satoko, you finally betrayed me, huh? I hate you. Get out of my house. This house belongs to Nini and me. This house belongs to my family. I hate you. Get out of here. You little bitch. Alright. Satoko wasn't going to just take a beating any longer. Instead, she spread her arms and jumped onto her uncle. Of course, that's not going to hurt him. She was as weak as a newborn puppy to him. It was, however, the best attack she had at her disposal. And she was fighting for the first time in her life. She decided to stop waiting for somebody to save her, and in the end, she's the only one who could save herself. Enduring her uncle's violence had never meant anything at all. She thought she learned something from her Nini, but she'd been mistaken this whole time. What's with that look in your eyes, son? I'm gonna push your front teeth in. But just as Teppei raised his fist, someone loudly hammered on the front door. Teppei Hojo, open up, this is the police. But he couldn't help but jump into surprise. That was the fastest. It had barely been a minute since Satoko asked for help, and the police are already there. Those are some fast police. Open up the door. If you don't, we're gonna break it down. So, how'd it turn out? How's Satoko? Satoko asked for help. Child Consultation Center is going to take action now. But she's still in danger. Teppei might kill her for betraying. We'd heard a violent noise right after she asked for help. In other words, Satoko had been brave enough to do that in front of her uncle. We have to get there right away. Can someone help? Give us a ride. Several of the villagers who came by car started their engines. The crowd started to realize what was going on. Damn it. We're coming as fast as we can, Satoko. Oh, don't worry about that, my Bara. The police entered the Hojo residence not a moment ago. He wouldn't have had any time to hurt Satoko. Wait, what? Is she doing business? He's like, I got shit to do this time. Time to be a good guy for time to be the good guy for once. I mean, he's kind of like always the side good guy, right? He's always coming in whenever he can help, as long as it's legal, right? Why? Oh, no idea. It's a mystery to me. Anyway, could you break up this crowd already? I'll be leaving for now. Excuse me. Have a good year. She must have contacted someone as soon as he heard Satoko asking for help. The police had surrounded Satoko's house ahead of time? I get it. They were suspecting him of Rina's murder. It all makes sense now. Wait, who's Rina? Get in the car, everyone. Let's get back to Hinamizawa. Mission accomplished, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. Actually, I should probably add that as a sound clip. There were several officers coming through the Hojo residence. Satoko was sitting by the porch talking with another officer. She had some painful-looking bruises all over her face. Satoko, are you okay? Are you? Do I look okay to you? Coach, she needs treatment right away. Let's take her to the clinic. Can you walk, Satoko? Satoko nodded to the coach and stood up. It looked painful for her, but even so, I felt relieved to see her better than I expected. However, the cruel bruises all over her body were too horrible to look at. I'll never forgive that man for abusing a little girl like her. My body shivered in anger. Satoko. Oh, did you see what I did, Rike? I can act when it counts. Yes, I saw your courage. You won. You broke the bonds of fate. Both Rike and Satoko cried and hugged each other. I soon heard another car coming and immediately knew who it had to be. It was Uishi's police cruiser. Well, we should have acted more quickly. I'm sorry we weren't more help. Oh, don't be sorry, don't be sorry. If not for you, Uishi would have done even more horrible things to her. Thanks so much. I guess you can be a nice person sometimes. Well, so how's she doing? The coach is looking after her, and she was injured pretty badly. Oh, Kuma-chan, what happened to Teppei? Well, we got him. Komiyama took him to the station. So he won't come back to the house again? Well, it's not like he's getting the death penalty or a life sentence. I don't want to think about this, but he might come back someday. Yeah, well, we won't let him. I'll make sure he can't come back to this village. Oh my. The successor of the family is saying such scary things already. You can't threaten her or anything, you know? I'm not gonna threaten him. I'm just gonna advise him he should never come back to Hinamizawa or Okonomiya, otherwise something terrible might happen to him. I guess advice isn't so bad, right? It's just advice, right? Free advice. Look, you might not want to live here. Something bad could happen to you. You know, the curse of Oyashiro-sama might crop up again, and it just might get you. I mean, have you seen the pattern? Aunt and uncle, the parents, then your wife, and it might be you next if you're hanging out in town. Who knows? So, is Satoko free now? Is that really it? Is it over? I don't know. I think there'll be more issues to come. Once Teppei loses his parental rights, they'll need to find a new guardian for Satoko. Someone has to take care of her. There's no need to worry. I'm sure the Sonozaki family's gonna back her up. We'll make sure Satoko's happy. Yuri took Satoko to the clinic. He says her injuries aren't as bad as they look, though. Really? Well, that's good to hear. I wonder if she can leave the clinic by tomorrow. I wonder. Oh, I'm sure those injuries will take more than a day to heal. That's not what she's talking about me. Yeah, she could probably leave the clinic, though. I mean, as long as it's not like... Even if there's, like, cracked ribs, you could probably leave the clinic in a day. Right? Like... You won't be trapped in the hospital the whole day for like a week, I don't think. What was Tanakashi? It's been a really hectic week. If we can all go to the festival together, I think that'll be our happy ending. Right? It'll serve as proof we got our happy world back with our own hands. I agree. I'm sure Satoko wants to see Kei-chan's auction in action. I almost forgot about that. Satoko will be coming for sure. Alright, we're gonna go. We're gonna have a nice time. Before I knew it, lots of people from the village had joined us. They were the same people who came to the center to support us, and they wanted to know if Satoko was safe. Considering her injuries, safe may not be the right word. However, she's free from the curse of her uncle now. Her emotional scars will slowly heal. We'll be there for her as her friends. Well, it wasn't just us anymore. The whole village is gonna be there for her. The ghost of the dam conflict won't haunt Satoko any longer. It was quite a long week. In this 1 week, we united, fought, we overcame, and we won. It wasn't an easy victory. However, the price we paid was more than worth it. I mean, we protested, 3 days? Then we had to wait a day because we were trying to get help. So it was like 5 days, right? Like 5-6 days, I think. Tomorrow is Watanagashi, the biggest festival in the village. It's a huge event where we worship the guardian of this village, Oyashiro-sama. He's a god who united two enemy peoples. The curse on the Hojos has disappeared, and Satoko is truly going to be a part of the village. We'll all be playing at the festival together. It's a perfect, happy ending. When our ordinary days were taken from us, we all felt so powerless, but now we have everything back. What else can you call that but a miracle? Well, not quite that. Miracles can be created when everyone works together. What's impossible to do alone becomes possible when everyone joins forces. With everyone's power, we were able to make the impossible happen. And that's only a natural outcome of everyone doing their best. So, it's not really a miracle. No one's gonna bully Satoko in the village again. I mean, maybe. I don't know if that's true. But Teppei's not gonna be doing any of that. After all, if the Yakuza tell you not to go somewhere, you'd better have a death wish if you want to go there. Especially when it's literally like their home turf. In other words, it's inevitable. The old legends in this village tell us that Oyashiro made it possible for humans and demons to live together. I'm not sure what that really means, but I'm sure Oyashiro-sama made something impossible happen. We can be proud of what we did, and I'm sure Oyashiro's proud too. Hey, my Bara boy, we did it! You pulled it off. It was worth showing up every day. My supporters cheered me on. They were all glad Satoko is finally safe. The sense of accomplishment at saving Satoko finally hit us, and we hugged each other, sharing praise for our struggle. We've achieved a great victory indeed, my friends. Satoko is at long last saved. However, I believe this is only the end of the 10th chapter, which means we got a couple chapters and a half left. The more she got hurt, the more her heart became timid. The deeper her sadness, the less she could enjoy happiness. The same time, the same world repeated 1,000 times. The girl who had forgotten to smile locked her heart away and isolated herself. When she noticed a light coming in through a gap, she raised her head. Did Pandora's hope ever really exist? Minagoroshi. With the courage taken back, the truth of the darkness can be revealed, aka we'll finally figure out why Rika's dying, and hopefully why Tomitake and Takano were dying. The future she had given up on was right in front of her eyes. Oh, the chapter is not over. We're still going on this chapter alone. Alright. Or maybe we're going into conclusion arc already? The conclusion seems to be like an exceptionally long chapter. Maybe that's how it's going to go? Satoko and Rika were already there waiting for me. While the injuries on her face, covered with band-aids, looked painful, Satoko seemed to be full of life. It almost looked as though her wounds were from playing too hard or something. She stayed at the clinic last night? Yes, I told him I was fine, but the coach wanted to keep an eye on me. If that's what the doctor said, you should probably listen to him. I see. You were scared to stay at the clinic alone, weren't you? I heard there were lots of ghosts inside hospitals. Toko can't sleep without me. Why can't you sleep without her? Why? That's because, well, Rika's the only person who can give her comfort. No sooner had Shion finished the sentence than a bucket went flying into her face, and Satoko started chasing Shion in circles like they were playing tag. I really missed this rambunctious fun. Damn, you threw a bucket at her already? I never thought I'd see this again. I felt the same, but we got it back. We did it! Mission accomplished, guys. We saved Satoko. Now we just have to realize that Rika's in danger and save Rika, but so far no one's even realized she's in danger before she dies. I think you did the most. It's your idea to go to the Child Consultation Center. You were the one who asked everyone for their support. I agree. I think Kei-chan contributed the most. Most people in Hinamizawa who know who Keiichi Bara is by now. Is Keiichi going to be a popular guy now? Is he? He'll be incredibly popular. Popular among old ladies, that is. I really envy him. I'd be fine with that if I could divide their ages by 3. Many people were wearing yukatas. It was still June, but it felt more like it was the middle of summer. It gets hot in Japan early, I guess. Once we finished climbing the stairs, we could see the festival and the crowd enjoying it. We're back at the festival. Will this one just be relaxing? Will we have a competition? Will we be shilling takoyaki? Who knows? The Furude shrine was packed with people, leaving the grounds looking nothing like their usual quiet self. Yeah, there's like actual paneling or something on the floors here, actually. I just noticed that for the first time. It's not a dirt path with booths set up. It's like they laid something down. It looks rather hard rather than just like a tarp either. I'm a little bit surprised at that, actually, because most festivals I've been to don't have anything below their if they're having like outdoor setups, they usually don't have anything beneath these. Or are those supposed to be concrete blocks that are like already laid and have been there for years? If they were concrete blocks, I guess that would make sense. Lanterns of various colors were hung about and people were swarming the booths, giving the whole place an unorganized yet pleasant atmosphere. What a crowd! I had no idea there were even this many people in Hinamizawa. Everyone comes to this festival. I think at least half the population of the village is here. There's more than just them. The neighboring town councils and youth groups are invited too. I see. Well, we only have a few students in our school. That explains why there's so many kids around today. Hearing the happy cheers of children is the best part of the festival. She's right, though. I'm in agreement there. There were lots of booths around, too. They were by far the best part of the festival. And this is just some random kit that just so happens to start with Ga. And definitely doesn't end with Enpla. Booths selling takoyaki, yakisoba, shaved ice, apricot candy, sauce senbei, chocolate bananas. That would be this one. That would be the one right below the word chocolate bananas. Actually, it just says choco. Choco. So it says chocolate right there, too. There was a yo-yo game, a goldfish game, a shooting gallery. There were countless booths here. These booth runners all came from the city. You can't call it a festival without festival booths. So we're going to have a battle in every one of them, huh? I'm not losing today. How are you going to win at a store booth? It's in here. Let's do it. Hello. Sorry I'm late. Am I the last one? Everyone's here now, huh? Oh, what's our club get together? There's no way we can sit back and enjoy the festival. Of course not. What are we playing tonight? We're doing it again this year. This Watanagashi festival for this 6 of us. Will be the battle of 6. Wait, is that evils or devils? It's battle of 6 evils. So good. There's no reason to hold back this year. Let's enjoy the festival with all our might. Ho ho! You don't even need to mention it. I too declare I will be the victor. Yeah, Satoko, you go, girl. Let's put everything that happened before tonight behind us. Let's play with everything we've got. It's been a good week since we all got together. True, it's been a few days. Yeah. Tonight, we're all enjoying this festival to its fullest. Satoko's saved. Apart from the next arc. We're fast forwarding through this, I see. We've already read it, and they didn't have a new scene. Okay. Wait, was Neon blushing there for some reason? I saw that. I saw that briefly. What were you saying, Gion? As we ran around frolicking, a lot of people approached Satoko. Some were concerned for her injuries, and some sympathized with her, how she'd been treated so far. Some even insisted she could rely on them if she's ever in need. All of that must have been disconcertingly fresh for Satoko, who wasn't used to it. She said all the unusual kindness was making her uncomfortable, but I knew she was just being shy. Right now, this was just what it took for Satoko to truly feel the village had been reborn. My, hello, you all seem to be enjoying yourselves. Hi, Rike. I'm here like I promised. The festival sure has grown into a splendor. Who's this guy? You know him, Rika? Akasaka's never there when I need him. Huh? What are you talking about? Did I do something to make you upset? Well, you were at the hot springs with your wife. Things sure got hectic around here. Huh? Rika's talking with some strange older guy. I wonder if he's someone she knows. I wonder. Who is he? Introduce this old man, too. Okay. When Akasaka arrived, I believed what it took to change fate was the power of an influential individual, or So I thought. It turned out that was a misunderstanding, although he can help. Individuals don't make miracles, and everyone's got to come forward to make them happen. That's why when I thought I could beat fate as long as I had Akasaka by my side, it was all in my head. Even if he'd been there, we probably wouldn't have been able to do anything. I'm not saying he was at fault, that's not the point. I may have considered him useless, even though I'm rather astonished at my foul mouth. Foul method is, let's forget about such things. It's been a couple decades. Let's celebrate our reunion instead. Haibara boy, I heard what you did. I heard about it too. I heard you fought Oryu with a sword until she gave in. Good on you. I did. We had a peaceful negotiation. Still, I'm proud of you. You led everyone and actually negotiated with the center. I'll give you some apricot candy. How many do you want? Kichiku, you're so popular. Free candy? Free candy? Hope they're not asking you to get into a van. I'm sure Keiichi's into old ladies too. I don't know what Rike's trying to say. I don't even want to know. Is Keiichi into old ladies? Keiichi got a lot of attention too, wherever he went. In order to save Satoko, he took the initiative, and his leadership abilities were now known throughout the village. Moreover, him persuading the village council and Oryu herself were now legendary tales of his heroism. Everyone had understood just how much Satoko had been ostracized by the whole village, and they also understood how unreasonable it was for it to continue long after the dam war was over. Seeing Keiichi's efforts to break through the taboo so refreshingly was a glimpse of a new future ahead for the village, as heroic deeds were known by all. With that said, Keiichi had become the hot topic amongst the Hinamizawan people. Naturally, everyone wanted a glimpse of this Maibara Keiichi, and hence the bargain auction saw an unprecedented turnout. Even though he started off red-faced, once he got over his shyness, he showed his true colors, eliciting rapturous cheers from the crowds. With sheer energy and momentum, the Watanagashi Showa 58th that day became home to a special fervor never before seen. He was now the administrator of, oh my goodness, that auto-read scrolling. Even after this, I'm sure Keiichi will continue to steer the village into new adventures. He's having such a young leader appear made the village elders rather reassured. I literally couldn't read that line fast enough. Oh, that's the guy who helped us yesterday. Thank you so much for your assistance, because the white text auto-scrolls. Oh, I should have introduced him to you then. This is my uncle, Saburo, who's in the prefectural assembly. This is my other uncle, Ken. He's in the city council. So we relate. We got lost on our way there. No, you're both a great help. I was really impressed to see the power of elected officials. Well, we're chosen to fight in place of the citizens. Of course we're strong. Glad Satoko is safe. Talk to us again if there's anything you need. We'll be glad to help. They rubbed Satoko's head while they spoke. Satoko's getting head pats. Thank you very much. Back in the main tent, having been the last to rush in, were the many influential Sonozakis. They were all folk who we became indebted to yesterday, except Satoko. Everyone bowed their heads. Until just a few days ago, everyone present was someone who could have been bad-mouthing the Hojo family. But Keiichi had broken through it all. Having reflected on their thoughtless insensitivities, I doubt many people will discriminate against her again. In fact, they bowed their heads and apologized, promising their assistance if anything were to come up in the future. Which may be sooner than they think. Just be proud of your son. It's not really a big deal. Keiichi, we're here too. Keiichi's parents are here. Good evening. That's the first time they've showed up at this. Usually they skip this whole event. Nice to meet you. I'm Keiichi's Meow Meow. Rike. What? Nice to meet you. My name's Satoko Hojo. So, I'm Keiichi's Meow Meow. That's what she says. Imagine introducing yourself like, I'm Keiichi. Meow Meow. You're like, what? What's your relationship? Here's Satoko. Such a poor little girl. Look at her face. You can make use of Keiichi if anything happens again. In return, what would you think about modeling for me? Your father reminds me a bit of Coach. Sorry. Every time his father mentions his work, it always seems very sus. He's like, I do art, let's have this lolly model for me, and you're like, oh boy, here we go again. Just a little bit of Coach. That's kind of his job. Sorry, that's the kind of person he is. Still whoa, graphical glitch, hello. We got two sprites at the same time. Satoko's grown 2 extra arms. So he seems nice and fun to be around. I'm curious if that is It's there on all 3 sprites! I was thinking it was just like a bug in one sprite, and if I rotated the sprites it'd be there, but apparently not. She just casually has 4 arms now. Don't worry about it, guys. Eiichi's parents were also at the festival. They were made quite a fuss of for having such a magnificent son, being the parents of today's big hero. According to Keiichi, since his parents rarely left the house from being busy, this is a good chance for them to interact with the villagers. His father proudly volunteered to make posters for the town council if the need ever arose. I heard from Keiichi the posters his father makes are so good people steal them. I look forward to seeing just what kind of posters they are. The best Tanagashi festival I've ever had. Oh my goodness, Hanyu has lives in this chapter. Yes, I feel the same way. You've been around a lot longer than me. If it's your best one, it must be mine too. Oh. Still, I think it's the most fun and exciting festival we had since it became known as the Tanagashi. The Tanagashi festival only became like this just a few years ago, didn't it? It used to be a boring traditional ceremony the Furune family held. And before that, it used to be something different, more like things Takano's interested in. Sorry, I'll try not to be mean to you today. Is this a better "ah"? Let's see. Last time we tried to get her saying "ah," it was in pain. Let's see what we get this time.
綿流しという名前のお祭りになってからの中でも一番賑やかで楽しいお祭りだと思いますのです。
She sounds much less depressed this time. The last time we did one of those, it was like she was like dying.
でもきっと綿流しという名前
That one works. That one works. I'll try not to be mean to you today. Let's go have some fun. The both of us. It's a special night for both me and you. So is she not doing... I heard Hanyu whisper in disbelief that only recently there was a world where Shion tortures Satoko to death. That horrific world and this happy ending world. It's all the same, Hanamizawa. Yeah, it wasn't too long ago. I'm sure that people who only know this world believe unwaveringly that Hanamizawa is destined to have a happy ending. Only Hanyu and I know, only the bystanders know, that here in Hanamizawa, beyond a membrane so thin that it was even thinner than a goldfish catching net, is a world with a tragic end. Which is why I'm certain that we understand better than anyone else just how much of a blessing this world is. If Keiichi and the others gave in to their temper without fighting side by side, this day would never have come. You see, best girl, I see. If Keiichi lost his temper, he would have committed a crime today. The same goes for Shion. She would have been a criminal by today. In Reina's case, she would already be 3 moves ahead and would have finished the burial. Only Mion never blew her fuse. She was something prudent, okay? Of course, there was actually a world where I lost it. I ended up getting myself killed. How hopeless. Anyway, none of these worlds were any good. We weren't able to take back our happy world. But this one we got a chance. I'd given up hope, but no one else had. We all united to bring about a miracle that needs to happen. A miracle happened, because everyone united. Isn't that wonderful? This might come across as self-aggrandizing, but I don't think there would have been a miracle if I'd just given up and denied unity. During that last call, if I hadn't taken the phone, I don't think Satoko would have sought our help. And that's it. The miracle that couldn't have happened without everyone coming together. A miracle that wouldn't have been, even if one of us gave up. Thanks to Keiichi, who taught me how easy it is to break through fate. I, who had given up from the outset. That's weird, they didn't continue that sentence. If everything is fate and there's meaning to Keiichi's existence, what is it trying to tell me? Well, I already knew. The meaning of resisting fate, the means to fight it. Never again will I give in to fate. Not once more. The mirror opposite of what Hanyu told me, not to hold expectations or anything. Even Hanyu must be able to cause some sort of miracle if she just believed without giving up. Or so I tried telling her, but she's stubborn, and at the oddest times evaded me with a simple, "Ow, ow." Interesting. It's weird that they changed to like white background, black text monologues at the end of this chapter. It seems a bit unusual. Like they don't really do that. And they did a lot of it there instead of just having her monologue to herself while she's wandering around. They like separated it by putting like the white background up, which seems unusual. That said, we did also see some glitches with the arms, so maybe that's a bug. And there was supposed to be a background there. Watch therefore, for ye know not what the hour your Lord doth come. But know this, if that good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. Even God doesn't know when he will descend once more. He is constantly prepared for that day to come. Have faith in your God at all times. Your God doesn't even know when he'll see the light. Spare not any effort. Study hard every day and have the passion for discovery. You never know when you'll be rewarded, but that day will come for sure. Until then, you must let the fires of your passion burn bright. Ifumi T. I paid a notebook, but alright, fair enough. Fair enough. If you want to take the, do you want to think about that from a Christian perspective? Yeah, sure, go for it. You better work hard because you don't know when God's coming back. Seems reasonable, and also seems applicable here because we don't know when we're all gonna die, aka probably in the next couple days. I'm predicting death, but we'll see. They might actually end the arc and somehow do like a post-arc for 8. That could be interesting. A post-escape arc. Let's see. I remember you telling us about that. But why? Why do you think Takano and I are going to be killed? My. Frankly, it'd be an honor for us to be the victims of the 5th curse. As I had expected, they didn't take me telling them that they'd be killed on the night of the festival seriously. They did keep their promise to tighten up security after I showed them the storehouse. However, they hadn't given one thought to their own safety. Ah well. Like I said, I didn't expect them to believe me. If they were willing to take me seriously, I could have easily changed their fate a long time ago. I'm telling you this one more time. Tomitake, you're going to claw out your own throat and die. Takano, you're going to burn to death on top of some mountain. I'm gonna claw out my own throat, like the terminal symptoms of L5. Don't worry, I took the shots. I don't have the disease. What happens to me is horrible too. I'm gonna burn to death on a mountain. Did you have a dream about that? I want you both to be careful, at least tonight. Please listen, even if you don't believe it. Did you have an ominous vision about some danger befalling us, perhaps? Oh, don't worry. You're under the protection of the mountain dogs. You've had 8 security guards watching you today. Thank you very much. I know I'm being protected. But I want you guys to be careful too. Thank you for your concern. We'll be fine. I've even been working out. I think I can protect myself. Tomitake flexed his biceps and smiled. That's right, his big biceps are gonna save him. He's probably trying to make me feel better, but all he really did was make me feel sadder. It's the sad part about being me. I know the future, but I can't tell them. It's as if that was a rule of the world. People tend not to believe what I tell them. Wait, who was it that was cursed by Zeus to see the future, but no one listened to him? I forgot who that was. But you're going to die. Tomitake and Takano die. I'll be killed now. If the 2 of you are dead, who will protect me? It sounds like you had a horrible dream. Don't worry. Even if we die, the mountain dogs will protect you. Are you sure they would? They've never protected me before. That's not true. They saved you when you got in a fight. They're watching you at all times. Of course they aren't on alert at all times, but just as you requested the other day, the security around you is still extremely strong. You even have a better security team than Dr. Ear. They'll keep on protecting me even after you die. Of course. You're the most important person to us. You're sure we'll get killed tonight? Oh, that's too bad. Well, if you have no intention of surviving, I only have to worry about myself. My words must have left a mark on his heart. He looked much more serious after I said that to him. Good grief. Okay then. I'll be extra careful tonight. I'll take a security guard with me when I'm going back to Okonomiya. I think someone might attack the 2 of you if you're alone together. Make sure not to be alone with each other tonight. My, are you jealous? You're such a precocious girl. Like I thought, I can't change their fate. When we saved Satoko, everyone shared the same sense of urgency. That's why we got together and saved her. However, these 2 have no sense of urgency whatsoever. How can I make them understand? Well, I sighed and gave up. Tomitake, Takano, goodbye. Thanks for everything. I bet she said sayonara instead of like, see you later. Wait, Rike, I had nothing else to say to them now. Instead, it might be worth talking to someone else. If I could get someone else to protect them, I might be able to change something. I can't give up yet. Fate's as thin as a piece of paper. It's just like the lid on a jar of jam. It's not gonna open unless you believe it will. 94 Gareth. Damn, dude. Railed Gareth. Getting up there. Gonna see some gross damage on the Gareth one day. Damn. I have to believe I can change my fate, and if I don't, well, it's not going to change. Tomitaka and Takano? Are you sure about this? I told Eri about this so many times in the past. He tends to listen to me more seriously than Tomitaka and Takano do. However, it doesn't mean he can actually do something about it. I'm the shrine maiden of Oyashiro-sama. I have a bad feeling about this. Is that not a good enough reason? I understand. It might be a message from Oyashiro. If that really happens tonight, it would be the 5th time in a row. I'll tell the two of them to be cautious too. All Eri would end up doing would be warning the two of them. Which is exactly the same thing as what I did. You can't wait for the next tower event? Is the next tower event coming Are we getting the tower event next year? Are we getting the Galatea tower event next year? We might be getting it next year, I think. We might be getting one soon. Soon. In other words, it wouldn't matter in the least. Eri is just a researcher. He has no ability to deal with unexpected trouble, so why did you ask him? That's why Takano works for him, after all. Please talk to them, please. Who else would treat me seriously? Who would be able to prevent Tomitaka and Takano's death? That's right. The one man who's been fighting the curse with all his might. Oh, it's Furude-san. I've been looking for you. Akasaka wants to say goodbye. I guess he and I are not meant to be. You're still upset about last week. Well, Akasaka really regrets he wasn't able to help you. He says he'd love to come back to Hinamizawa when he has his next vacation. But his wife took it personally. She's pretty, his wife, but she can be scary too. Rishi, I have something important to tell you, but no one else believes me. Uh-oh? What's the matter? I've spoken to him several times in the past too. He usually takes me seriously. However, after they die, he starts suspecting me, and that's why I stopped talking to him. Where did you hear that? Where at the festival? I told him I heard someone talking about murdering them in the crowd. That way, he might not be suspicious of me after the murder happens. Tomitaka is now from around here and with Takano. That makes 2 people. One's going to die and one's going to disappear. This could be the 5th year's curse. Uishi's taking it seriously. I can't take anything. This is anything more than a rumor, you understand. But just in case, we'll keep our eye on the 2 of them tonight. I think they were saying they're going to attack them between Hinamizawa and Okinomi. Tomitake's body will be found on the road leading out of the village. From what I remember, he's discovered where the concrete road turns to gravel. I see. I'll have a cruiser patrol around there. We can spare that at least. He agreed to get involved and he wasn't suspicious of me. That seems good enough, but it seems odd to people that Ueshi actually believe this phony-sounding story of mine. I mean, Ueshi seemed to have remembered at least once, right? He seemed to have remembered at least once, but Rike wasn't aware of that. If your math's correct, Mordred's gonna be done with her bond by the next event. Damn, dude. She's getting so many bond points. I'm like still working on bond 11, on my first bond 11. The thing about Ueshi is he strongly believes there's no smoke when there's no fire. I've learned from experience he tends to believe my information. However, that personality of his caused me so much trouble in previous worlds. Of course, there's no question why he's eager to believe me either. This is his last chance to expose the curse of Oyashiro before his retirement. Even if it might be fake, he still wants to believe it. It was convenient for me because I couldn't show proof. Hey Kuma, you read? Can you hear me? Have a cruiser patrol the road back to Okonomiya. No, it's just a precaution. I heard a rumor something bad might happen around there tonight. Yeah, 2 officers will be fine, thanks. Yes. Thank you. No one believed me. I didn't know what to do. Oh, it's my job to believe these things. Your bond goal takes 4 months for a 7 hit 10 plus. Yeah, you're pretty dedicated to that. I gotta work on it. I gotta work on focusing on the bond levels. We'll be glad if nothing happens. Be happy to swing and miss. That's what my late colleague used to say. Besides, it's worse if you ignore what you're told and don't take precautions, you know? It's true. It's true. It's true. Once you, how bad are you gonna feel if someone tells you, I think this person's gonna be killed here. Someone might be murdered between this place and this place, and then they get murdered, and you're like, ah, fuck. It'd be awful to be a police officer, get information like that, not act on it, and someone dies. See, that's his way of thinking about things. That's why he believed me without question. I hope he doesn't consider me a suspect when they find the bodies tomorrow. I shouldn't worry about that now. Her edgy father replaces her for saver. Could still do more. Who else should I talk to? Should I talk to my friends? I can't give up. I should at least try. Oh, wait. You heard someone talking about that? On the day of the festival? That's so wrong. You mean the curse, right? You're talking about the curse of Oyashiro-sama? That might happen tonight? It's happened 4 years in a row. Lots of people think it's gonna happen again tonight, too. What they believe is their business. It's not nice for them to talk about Tomotaki and Takano like that. You should talk to them about it just in case. I think I already did. They didn't believe me. That's fair. They don't believe lots of people. I bet they didn't. It's too late if something really does happen. I think you should talk to Uishi. I already did. I'm kind of impressed you've done all that, Rike-sama. It is kind of impressive. I agree. They should take every precaution. Especially tonight. Series of mysterious deaths in Hanamisawa. Commonly known as the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I really don't want them to keep happening every year. Someone might end up imitating it. Bad publicity for the village, too. Bro, I hadn't thought about that. Publicity? So if nothing happens, it means the curse is over, right? It might mean they just kill someone else, if Tomotaki and Takano can't be reached. We should definitely make sure nothing happens then. What can we do? Are you suggesting we should patrol the village or something? I think patrolling might be even more careless. You really think we can do something about this? For starters, the chance some deviant trying to imitate the serial murders might be within the Watanagashi Preparation Committee. Let's be wary of unfamiliar faces. Easy for us to tell strangers apart from the locals. We can spot them right away. We'll be fine. But Tomotaki and Takano will still be killed. Rike, alright, let's try to do what we can. I agree, we can't protect them all night. Let's stay with them at least until the festival's over. At least, as long as we're there, the bad guys won't be able to do anything to them. I couldn't tell if they really believed me, but they listened to me at least. We decided to keep our eyes on the two of them and protect them for the rest of the night. I guess I've done everything I can now, although it's hard to believe this is enough to prevent their deaths. I just gotta hope nothing happens when I wake up tomorrow morning. Think you read Tomotaki and Takano's deaths, Rika? It might be impossible. Their deaths might be the bell that portends my doom. But Takano told me earlier, if they die, the mountain dogs are supposed to keep protecting me. They might bring in more squads from Tokyo, too. Even if they die, the situation will be different this time. What if it still doesn't work out? I'll just have to die. Anyway, I'm not going to give up until the very end. I'll struggle to my limits. I won't give up and spend the rest of my time drinking wine. Do whatever you want to, Rika. You believe nothing's going to change, Hanyu? I don't believe anything. It's only fate. I keep getting hurt because I have hope, huh? If I'm an actress trying to get on stage, Hanyu's a real bystander. We have very different opinions when it comes to this. Rika, no matter what happens, don't give up. Sounds like you're convinced nothing I do is going to change. Lately, the things you say have been pissing me off. I think the real depressed person is Hanyu. I understand. Hanyu tells me not to get my hopes up because she cares about me. As I hope to defeat fate, I get hurt when the hope's betrayed. And the more I get hurt, the closer I get to losing my mind and disappearing. For Hanyu, that means losing her only friend. Losing me is the most unbearable thought for Hanyu since she has to live alone, unable to communicate with anyone else. But I believe fate can be changed. Even when I didn't have that faith, I still believed eventually I'd find a way out of this maze. Perhaps Hanyu knows something I don't. I might just be a goldfish inside of a fishbowl. There might be no way for me to escape this fate. I mean, we're stuck alone inside of a fishbowl. Every day I knock on the glass believing I could break it someday. I mean, I have seen, what was that? that Heaven Sent? What was the Doctor Who episode where he spent literally an eternity punching through a mountain of diamond? If he can do that, surely Rika can get through a glass fishbowl. If I get hurt and die, she'd have to survive all by herself inside the fishbowl. With that, I think I finally understand our difference of opinions. Hanyu has lived for a much longer time than I have, and because of that, she understands the laws of this infinitely spanning world far better than I do. No matter how much I refute her, I can never refute the truth, and even so, I still have to believe in my own faith. I believe in a spear that will pierce the wall of fate. My faith will make that spear sharper than ever. We found Tomitake in the crowd and struck up a conversation with him to keep him around as long as we could. However, as soon as the festival ended, they tried to leave, and if they left now, well, I know I'd never see them again. Leon tried insisting they stay at her house the night, but Tomitake refused. Everyone tried various ways to stop them from being alone because the murderer might be around, but we eventually started to believe they wanted to be alone for adult reasons. And I wound up suggesting we shouldn't interrupt the two lovebirds. Don't worry, Rika-chan. Tomitake's a man after all. I'm sure he'll do anything to protect Takano. Is that so? Well, if something happens, you'll rescue me, right? That's the plan. Oh, we really should go now. It's getting pretty late. Thank you for your concern. Don't make any assumptions. I'm headed to the clinic because I left something there. Takano has the keys. We have to go together. Oh, I didn't know you were into playing doctor. I think he's more into playing a gynecologist. What? What are the punches for? Those were good jokes. I wonder how they play doctor. I wonder. Don't hit them because you feel embarrassed. As for you two, stop only getting along when you're making dirty jokes. What's wrong with that? They're bonding as siblings, Keiichi. Reina's getting violent for no reason. Goodbye, everyone. Really, I'm just going back there to get something I forgot. Don't follow us, okay? Tomitake, please be careful. I do think you're overreacting, Rike. Huh. Everyone laughed and Satoko yawned. It seemed like a good time to call it a day. It doesn't feel like I was able to change their fate. I just hope they pay attention and that they're prepared for whatever faces them. I still might have a chance. All I can do now is pray. Goodbye, Tomitake-san. Show us the pictures you took next time. Make sure you wear your punishment shirt. Man, I'm so jealous you get to spend a night with a pretty lady. Woohoo! Well, see you guys again. I guess it'll be in fall. That's if we don't get killed tonight. Good night, everyone. Good night. That was the best I could do on the night of Watanagashi. That was weird. He like went center and then slowly faded out. Instead of just fading with the whole image. Maybe the mod is less playtested. Or less playtested as far. Please tell me what happened this night. It's like a box with a cat inside. Please tell me what happened. I don't even know if the cat's alive or dead. Please tell me what happened this night. The cat in the box is dead. Thanks, Frederica Berncastel. Your weird cryptic messages again. Ooh, here we go. Tomitake's perspective. We're finally getting a perspective on this. Okay. Tomitake gathered up his paperwork and slipped it inside his bag. Sure, we're persistent. I wonder if they really want us dead. How rude of them. That's only a dream. Please make sure Dr. Iri examines Rika. Her nightmares might be a symptom of something. If anything happens to her, it'd be a disaster. Takano touched Tomitake's hand gently, and as he turned bright red, Takano moved in closer and spoke. The way she acts is just too sexy, Tomitake thought. Ichiro-san, I have something important to tell you. Will you listen? What is it? You got something to tell me too? I hope you didn't see me claw my throat in a dream. What would you say if I did? Takano stared at him with a mischievous look as if seducing him. And Tomitake's like, oh dear, oh dear. He's not good with this horror. She started whispering into his ear. I'm really surprised. That girl might have godlike power after all. What does that mean? Takano smiled gently and pulled back her hair. Even seeing her do that made Tomatake's heart race. I really like you. I really like you. That's good to know. Takano's fingers curled around his chin, stroking, tickling, caressing it. Her movements were captivating and seductive. I've dated a lot of guys, none of them interested me as much as you. I've learned someone with a personality like yours makes the ideal partner for me. You're willing to accept everything I stand for. I believe you understand me completely. And that's why I can give you everything I have. I want you to accept everything about me. You understand? Well, Takano, what's the matter? Her voice didn't really sound that affectionate. Is Takano the killer? That sounds perfectly believable. Tomatake knew from experience he couldn't grasp what was on her mind when she wore a cold smile like that. Finally, it's almost here. It seemed as though she couldn't wait for something to happen. There was a chilling allure to her strange smile that made one question if something exciting was really about to happen. It's almost here, Tomatake asked, trying hard to resist the temptation. The day my dream comes true. Your... Yes, my dream? Didn't I tell you before, or do you forget everything we talk about in bed? Oh, I remember. Your dream? Tomatake's response was vague. Either he didn't remember or hadn't understood it very well. Finally, the curse is going to come true. That's what I've been dreaming about ever since I was a child. Jiro-san, listen. I can't be with you anymore. What? What do you mean? You see, I belong in a different world. Hinamizawa is where humans and demons once coexisted. That's why we met each other here, but all that's going to come to an end soon. The eclipse of the sun brought humans and demons together. You understand what I'm saying? Takano, did you drink a little much at the festival? You're drunk, right? Tonight's a night of farewell. Thank you for teaching me about the sunlit realm. Your warmth was like the glow of the midday sun. We really did have a wonderful relationship. I'm so sad we have to say goodbye. She pulled herself away from Tomatake and slowly stepped back, as if signaling the time had come for them to part. I don't know what you're trying to say. What's this about, Takano? I want you to make a decision. I want you to decide to stay with me and abandon the sunlit realm. If what you told me was all true, then I know you have no doubt. By that time, Tomatake understood Takano was asking him to make an important decision. Could it be your... That's right, Jiro. Tomatake got up from his seat and looked Takano straight in the eyes. There was a faint glimmer of hostility within those eyes. Is your work more important than me? I thought so. I can't believe this. I trusted you. Those words were one of rejection. Takano's lips twisted into a cruel smile. Oh, Yashiro united the humans and the demons. But I guess he can't unite you and me. Takano slowly opened the door. 6 men in overalls were standing there at the ready. Tomatake was frozen in shock. The 6 men walked up to him with no expressions on their faces. It was immediately obvious they were going to do something to harm him. What's this about? Hinamizawa syndrome is like a bomb with a lit fuse. Your plan is to dismantle the bomb before it explodes. However, there are some people in Tokyo who want to see it go off. No, what goodwill will that do for anyone? Nobody ever does anything that isn't beneficial to them. Therefore, if they want that bomb to explode, it must be doing good for someone. Your question just now is a pretty meaningless one. I can't believe this. There's people who want that to happen? Hinamizawa syndrome is a very dangerous disease. You know as well as I do. I do. It would be a disaster if it had an outbreak. Tokyo wouldn't be able to cover it up either. Did that faction bribe you? Hey, how's that going, dude? It's actually my mission from the very start. I'm so sorry. We belonged in different worlds from the moment we first met. So Takano's the killer. What are you going to do to me? It'd be a great help if you came over to our side. Of course, that would mean you'd have to betray your own people. You're expecting me to turn on them? Jiro, if your feelings are real, will you support me? You'll be compensated, of course. If you wish, I'll dedicate my whole life to you. I'll do whatever you want me to, whenever and wherever you want. My body will belong to you. You can dominate me to satisfy your needs whenever you like. I'm willing to be all yours. Don't you want to just die this body of mine in your scent? Her words were a kind of assault, directly hammering at the emotions men had difficulty resisting. The cameraman's being corrupted. Takano is innocent. You say she's innocent with these lines? Man, that's some serious simping. Upon hearing them, Tomitake felt an unknown sensation rush up his spine as his feet froze in place, entranced, but he forced himself to resist the temptation. Tomitake is stronger than this. He sealed the cracks in his walls of reason to stop Takano from forcefully entering his heart. There, he's regained control. I refuse. She had known from the start Tomitake was going to refuse her, but even so, he let out a laugh. It's funny. She thought Tomitake would refuse right away. However, it took him a while to refuse because of how effective she was at seducing him. The time it took him to refuse her was one of victory for Takano. For Tomitake, it was a time of humiliation. She continued to laugh. She sounded rather like an evil witch. I thought you'd say that. That's why I love you so much. Takano raised her right hand and gave a signal to the mountain dogs. Okonoki-kun, you're betraying me too? Sorry, Lieutenant Tomitake. Are you surprised? The dogs worked for me. It was us who controlled this clinic all along. You and Dr. Uri are the only people who didn't know. Shit. Tomitake moved into action, sensing the danger that was about to befall him. His fist thrust out as quick as lightning, knocking one man down before he could even blink. However, the other dogs certainly weren't going to just stay there and watch. They all attacked him as one. He tried to strike back with an elbow, but he simply couldn't overcome the difference in numbers. He tried his best, but soon enough the dogs had wrestled him to the ground. Let me go! Let me go! Stop struggling already. They pinned him down so he couldn't move an inch. Impressive, Jiro. You fought pretty well considering you're up against 6 people. Takano walked over and smiled while looking down at Tomitake. She's innocent. Hey, Jiro. I know you're going to refuse, but let me ask you one more time. You changed your mind to join my side? Never. I'll never join with you. That's what I wanted to hear, so I could sever all my attachments. Takano was holding a small case in her hands. She opened it and showed Tomitake what was inside. What's in the syringe? Oh, come on now. Sure you know what it is? We destroyed all of them. Jiro, let me guess what you're thinking. Even if this is what you think it is, you should still have immunity because you took the vaccine. Isn't that what you're thinking? That's why you're not scared, right? Well, let me tell you something nice. The vaccine you took before you came here was a fake. You may not have noticed it, but you're already an L3 patient of the Hinamizawa syndrome. Jiro, you have a tendency to look away when you get an injection. It's not very smart. You should always make sure of what you're getting. Shit. Let me go. Tomitake struggled to get away, but he simply couldn't move. Upon seeing his sorry state, Takano laughed with glee. Sure you know very well about H173. You'll become infected instantly and virtually instantly become an L5 patient. You saw how the experiment turned out now. The subject displayed extreme irritation in the neck and armpit areas. Based on our past studies, patients with L5 suffer from extraordinary irritation in their lymph nodes. It might be an antigen-antibody reaction. In other words, Jiro, if you're lucky, you might be able to die as Rike predicted. Are you going to kill yourself or become disabled for life? Which would you prefer? Which one, Jiro? Oh, this is fun. This is fun. Takano's the killer, but why? The body might be fake, I guess. Could be someone else who gets murdered to look like Takano so she can escape, perhaps? Stop! It's gonna be difficult to give him the injection like this. Put him to sleep, please. I don't really feel bad for Tomitake, though. He was given literally every warning by every single person. One of the men covered Tomitake's mouth with a towel soaked in some kind of chemical. He tried to fight it off with all his might, but his strength eventually left him as he became quiet as a beached whale. Takano stroked his face to make sure he couldn't resist. And then she brought the needle toward his throat. She pushed it right into his skin, and as she squeezed down on the syringe's plunger, the skin surrounding the tip of the needle swelled up, and eventually the contents were absorbed into his body. Goodbye, Chiro. You wake up, you'll be in the middle of a wonderful nightmare. The mountain dogs finally got off of him. He couldn't even twitch. Someone put him in my trunk. The two of the men lifted up Tomitake and carried him outside. Oh, hold on. I'm sure he'd be happy if I left him with his bicycle. That way he can enjoy cycling in hell, too. The dogs all quietly laughed at the joke. We're gonna commence Operation Doomsday. They stopped laughing as she began to speak. Okanoki, wait for contact from headquarters. Keep your eyes on Dr. Eri. Keep tabs on Rike as well. I don't know what kind of power she has, but she predicted Tomitake's death. I'm curious about her, but too bad. Roger. I'll take care of things here. Please be careful on your way. Not much to be careful of. By the way, where's Dr. Eri? I'm sure he's attending the festival's after party. He's still at the shrine. Wish I could see the look of panic on that nerd's face. The dog started laughing again, too. Takano checked the time on her watch. It was nearly 10 p.m. Most people must have left the festival for home, and those that were still there probably enjoyed the after party while getting drunk. Inside the shrine, it was a good time for her to leave without being seen by anyone. I'm leaving now. I'm gonna go and die. After saying that, she left the clinic alone. She left through the back door. She left amid the moonlight, the singing of insects, and the sound of a river. Psych? What's the psych? I mean, I kind of thought she might be suspicious, because there's the arc where Keiichi goes crazy and kills someone. She's carrying his bike, right? And she's, like, really suspicious. It's like, she murdered someone. Right? Keiichi thinks she murdered or will murder someone. And she really didn't want him in the trunk. Like she was uncomfortably nervous about him opening the trunk and putting his shovel in there. Which means there's a decent chance that Tomitake's body might be in there. Or an unconscious Tomitake. I don't know, but... Right, there's something going on. He left amid the moonlight, the singing of insects and the sound of a river. It was a typical night in Hinamizawa. While enjoying all these sensations, Takano got inside the car. Because, I was like, well, she murdered someone, so it's probably Tomitake that time. And I don't know if she consistently does it all the time, but... it seems like that's the case. Or she might have just... He doesn't deserve to die. Probably not. I mean, he hasn't done anything super suspicious. Or it seems villainous in all 7 arcs. So far. Tomitake was sleeping inside the trunk. His bicycle, on the other hand, was loaded into her back seat. Look, they're setting up the scenario from the, They're setting up the scenario from the murder. So as predicted, she killed Tomitake that night. Okay. Alright. How ironic. Your bicycle has a better seat than you. I'll let you out there soon. I should leave him by the road that leads to Okinomiya. It'll be a good spot. Takano found a good place to drop him off, but she gave up on it as there was a cruiser parked in the area. She figured they were probably patrolling to make sure the year's 5th curse didn't happen. Good job, officers. No one would suspect there's a curse packed in my trunk right now. Takano drove onto less lit streets with rougher roads. Eventually the mountain road ended and she was surrounded by darkness. There were rice fields nearby. She could tell by the sound of the croaking frogs. Takano parked her car by the pitch-black roadside. She had to stop here, or otherwise she'd be too close to a residential area. So, we changed the location of his death. Indeed, she was nearly in Okinomiya. He'd have dumped him earlier, but the police cruiser foiled that plan. He pulled Tomitake out of the trunk and left him by the road. She also left him his bicycle. He let out a small groan. It probably wouldn't be long until he woke up. Goodbye, Jiro. Your awkward sweet talk was very entertaining. I wish I could hear it again. You'll be waking up soon. By that time, you'll be in the final stage of L5. After a futile struggle, you'll meet with a miserable demise. I wonder if you really are going to claw out your throat and die. I wish I could be here to see. Your mysterious death and my disappearance will complete the 5th year's curse. The story of the curse will be firmly established. You should feel honored, Jiro. You're going to be part of history. You might lose your life, but in a way, you're going to live for eternity. It was her last farewell to Tomitake. Takano got back inside her car and started driving. She could see the place she left him in her rearview mirror, but it was shrouded in darkness. Takano drove through the main street of Okonomiya and made a few turns, heading for the dark mountains in the distance. It had been a while since she left Hinamizawa. It was almost midnight. He's being left on the curb. There isn't even a curb on that road. It is a dirt road. Actually, no, there might be a curb on the paved part. Half of the road is dirt. The road is a dirt half of the way until Okonomiya. So it might actually be a curb. There might be a curb, but I mean it might just be paved with no curb, which seems more reasonable for a country road. Not even a place with a curb. He's being left in the middle of a country road to die. She might have already made it to the neighboring prefecture. It was difficult to tell because she couldn't see anything in the darkness. I know, it's even worse. She stopped her car in the middle of all that. After turning off both the engine and the headlights, there was nothing but darkness surrounding her. It was as if time itself had stopped. Takano wasn't sure how long she waited, but she eventually saw the headlights of a car blinking twice. She blinked her own headlights back at it, and soon she saw several people walking towards her. 2 men wearing blue overalls knocked on the window of her car. Obligingly, she opened it. They looked over her face and the paperwork they had in their hands. Hello, I'm Takano. After confirming her identification, they called someone over the radio. Hello. We got the lady. Anyone following? No one's after you. You're clear for 400 meters. Nobody's following us. Your work is greatly appreciated. Please come with us to the command vehicle. I'll take your paperwork. The paperwork's inside the trunk. Here's the key. I do need some coffee. Could you get me some? Command vehicle was a trailer with a bunch of high-tech communications equipment inside. The light of the electric equipment shone beautifully in the dark. Here's your coffee, Major. Another man in blue overalls offered her a paper cup. Thank you. What's going on with my corpse? They finished setting it up in Gifu Prefecture. Ah, she is faking her death. Okay. Gifu? Did I burn to death in the mountains of Gifu? I'm not sure about cause of death. I'll confirm it with someone. Operation Doomsday, the name of their mission. The goal of the first stage was Takano's escape from Hinamizawa and the extraction of 18 specific classified documents. The goal was completed. Assassinating the liaison from Tokyo, Tomitake, was also one of the goals. That one had been completed in the way Takano planned. He wasn't killed that way just because Takano wanted to see it. It was intentionally planned so the office in Tokyo would be suspicious of the Eerie Institute. They were trying to create the story that the Institute was upset with the recent budget cuts and the cancellation of their study. Tomitake's mysterious death would be a suitable way to persuade people. Tomitake was not the only one who expected to die. Takano was expected to do so as well. However, she didn't really need to die herself. They acquired a substitute body for her so she didn't actually have to die. Takano had no idea how they got the body. According to what she heard, a team in Gifu took care of everything. Once Tomitake and Takano were dead, Tokyo would grow suspicious of the Eerie Institute. The main purpose of the mission was to make the Institute look reckless. Sorry, Major. It's been a problem in Gifu. A problem? What sort of problem? They made a mistake with the corpse. The body's already been dead for 24 hours. I see. Well, I wonder how things will play out. In other words, you're saying I was already dead as of yesterday. Tomitake is too hot to die. You mean what? Interesting, interesting. Takano's body was supposed to be selected from corpses of people who died the same day. The plan was to burn the body and make identification of the corpse difficult. They'd found a suitable body, however they just found out it had been dead for over a day. That would create a hole in their plans. We're gonna collect another body to use instead. No, that's fine. We can still use that body as me. Huh? That would mean the messenger of Oyashiro-sama was long dead but came to the festival regardless. That's a good one. It's a very, very good one. Takano laughed with satisfaction for a while, and the other people in the vehicle couldn't understand why she was laughing so much. She continued to laugh as if it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. Go ahead. Call the team in Gifu. Tell them to stop looking for another body. I think this will make for an interesting twist. Are you sure? Shouldn't you be more cautious? Don't worry. Everyone saw Mio Takano walking around at Watanagashi. Even if the forensics lab does find out the body's been dead more than a day, they'll think the test results were wrong. Takano almost seemed to be enjoying the risk. Roger, I'll notify them. By the way, was my body burned in an oil drum? Yes, it seems someone already discovered it on a mountain near the freeway. Takano seemed surprised to hear that from him, and then she started laughing strangely again. I mean, nobody could figure out why she was laughing like that. I see. The reincarnation really is gifted. I have to admit, she has a supernatural power. It defies explanation. Tell the mountain dogs in Hinamizawa to tighten up security on her. Roger. Major. The Okonomiya Police Department has discovered the body of Tomitake. They have, huh? Show's about to begin. So. Uishi, Dr. Eri has arrived. Oh, thanks for coming. So, what do you think, Dr. Eri? Uishi entered the air. We've read this scene multiple times. In these, people from forensics were taking pictures of the body from various angles. Eri was squatting down next to the dead body of Jiro Tomitake, and when he stood up, he was as white as a sheet. I can't believe it. I can't believe it either. As far as I can see, he clawed out his own throat with his bare hands. It's not a normal way to die. Most likely some kind of dangerous drug must have caused it. Are you saying he was a drug addict? I don't know, was he? It's gonna be my job to find that out. Uishi-san, what's this 2x4 doing here? I think he was swinging it around. But then he threw it away and had more fun clawing out his throat, I guess. Why was he swinging the 2x4 around? He probably did it in self-defense. Did you notice there are several external injuries on his body? I can see some bruises. Easiest explanation I can think of is this. He's attacked by someone on his way home to Okonomiya after the festival. Seized by the culprit, given a shot of some dangerous drug, went crazy, and died. Never heard of any drug that makes someone claw their own throats. I'm not an expert on it either, but they say self-harm's one of the terminal symptoms for drug addicts, right? Well, I'm sure the old man in forensics is taking care of the investigation. Excuse me, Uishi-san. We found a bicycle believed to belong to Jiro a mile away from here. Oh, is that so? Thank you. Did you find anything on it? Nothing yet. They're investigating it right now. That means the place the bicycle was found is most likely the place he's attacked. And he ran from the culprit coming here. Uishi frowned, crossing his arms in front of his chest. Eri was looking at the corpse of Tomitake, and he kept saying the same thing. It's impossible. It's just impossible. Eri knew right away Tomitake's death was caused by terminal symptoms of the Hinamizawa syndrome. He hadn't swung the 2x4 at a real person, but probably saw some kind of hallucination due to the L5 symptoms. Violent reactions to hallucinations are one of the clearest characteristics of the terminal stage. However, he supposedly took a vaccine before coming here. There's no way he could reach level 5 symptoms in such a short time. Is he not aware of the chemical concoction that they apparently destroyed, but didn't? Shouldn't he be aware of his cause of death? Eri didn't want to believe it, but it was obvious someone intentionally injected him with the pathogen. The pathogen must have been strong enough to give him L5 symptoms immediately. The only drug that can do that is H173. A chemical weapon that induces acute onset of symptoms. It makes people hallucinate, which inevitably leads to a horrible death. It's the absolute worst kind of demon. However, they destroyed all of it due to its dangerous nature. I don't know why you would ever believe that. The government is literally killing people for this. So, all that was left were helpful chemicals like vaccines and treatment drugs. Tomitake was their liaison from Tokyo. Whoever killed him must have had full knowledge about him and this drug. How would that person know he was their liaison? It was then Eri thought of Takano. She's also a watchdog from Tokyo. She's something like a superintendent. It was quite possible something bad happened to her too. What about Takano-san? What happened to Takano? What? Oh, are you talking about your nurse? I think she was with him. Is she okay? Do you know her phone number? Of course. Kuma-chan, get her phone number from Erie and have someone at the station call her home. Understood. Doctor, may I have the number? Yes, here it is. Kuma guy got the phone number, repeated it to make sure he got it right, and dashed it to the lieutenant. Doctor, Takano and Tomitake were close friends, weren't they? Yes. Have you heard about any troubles between them? No, not even once. They were very close friends. Tomitake and Takano weren't just in a close relationship, they were co-workers sent from Tokyo. They had access to information that even Erie didn't. There's no way there was trouble between them. Well, I hope she's alright. In the worst case scenario, she could be dead or even the perp. I see. Nurses do have access to dangerous drugs, don't they? I mean, Takano has every opportunity. We don't have any drugs like that in my clinic. Even if we did, we'd store them with extra care. There's no way Takano could smuggle out a drug like from my clinic. But it's easier for nurses than regular people, right? Like I said, I'm denying the existence of the drug that killed her, and I don't have anything like that in my clinic. Erie made clumsy excuses while he tried to piece together what was going on. However, he had no means of knowing the state of affairs in Tokyo and couldn't reach further conclusions. It was easy to laugh at him as though he's a frog trapped in a well. She isn't home. The standby unit says they're going to go to her house to check. Doctor, what's her address? Kuma, can you go and check if the police headquarters has found any unidentified female bodies tonight? Maybe we should check with the other prefectures too. Get the section manager to call the nearby prefectural headquarters. Ask if they have any unidentified female bodies. Sir. The Okinomi Police Department is contacting the Gifu Prefectural Police Department. Are you sure about this, Major? Sure, I don't mind. Leave it there. Doomsday has almost arrived anyway. Everything will be destroyed before they find out the time of death doesn't match. I don't want to call Rike an idiot, but statistics show that if you're going to be murdered or sexually assaulted, it's probably someone you know. Just saying. Literally, like, the first guess is supposed to be the person you're closest to. Like, it's like if a wife gets murdered, the first person the police suggest is the husband. And vice versa. Because they're the person who has the most potential to gain from their murder by default. Even if they don't show any signs, they usually have something to gain or someone related to them. So it's kind of funny that Rike has never suspected Takano of the murder. You're making a map on Forza, and the game crashed, he lost every- Oh shit, that sucks. I guess, always stick with the old adage, my dude. Save often. Save and save often, my dad. I mean, even Word can crash. I mean, it's way more stable than it used to be, but you can lose power at any time, and you can certainly have it crash at any time. Even if it's unlikely, you gotta save. I feel bad, but it's a good lesson to learn. It's a good lesson to learn. Better than forgetting to save and losing several days worth of work or something at your job, right? Better in a video game when you're working for fun in only 2 hours, as frustrating as it is. Yeah, now you'll never forget, you're like, this one time I didn't fucking save. I lost all my progress over 3 hours. It fucking sucked. I'm fucking saving this shit. Hashtag Control S. The day after Botanagashi, Uishi showed up at our school. It isn't uncommon for Uishi to show up here today. Interestingly, he always asks to see the most key person in the world. He asks for Keiichi in the world where he gets sick. He asks for Reina where she gets sick. In this world, he asked for me. Did Tomitake really die? Yeah. The way he went was pretty strange too, like he's on drugs and hallucinating. He clawed out his own throat until he died. I couldn't prevent it. There's nothing I can do now. I knew this was gonna happen. I'm sure Takano's dead too. And Takano? I have bad news about her too. Found burned to death in the mountains over in Gifu Prefecture. Based on the condition of the body, she was choked to death before her body was burned. It's a tragic story, no matter how you look at it. Yeah, losing your progress fucking sucks. There's no way around that. I know what you're thinking. You think I know something about what happened to them? Heavens, no. I have one question. Who would talk about such a disturbing plan at a festival where anyone could hear? You think I'm involved in the murder? Well, I want to suspect you, but I don't. If you were responsible in some way, you wouldn't have given me the hints you did. At the very least, I'm sure you're not involved with the people who killed them. Good, you're not suspicious of me. Uishi threw a 10-yen coin into the offering box and shook the bell in prayer. Please let us solve the mystery of Hanamizawa this year. Trying to get me involved in your investigation? I was just talking to Oyashiro. Uishi is well aware that people call me the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. It must have been his attempt at a joke. I'd like to see the curse disappear forever, too. Oh, that means we both want the same thing. I made a prediction about where you might find the body. Did you have a police cruiser nearby? Yeah, I listened to your prediction and had a cruiser patrol the area. The place where the concrete and gravel roads meet, it's on the very border of the village. It gets very dark there at night. It always seems like something bad were to happen. Always would happen there. Where'd you find the body? We found him dead in the rice fields near Okonomiya. That's not where his body is usually found. If he was fated to hallucinate and die, he would die in the same spot, whether the cruiser was there or not. Just because the cruiser was placed there, Tomitake's body was found in a totally different spot. In other words, the existence of the police cruiser disrupted that fate. Anyway, there's something else I found interesting. I told the officers in the cruiser to check every vehicle that passed. As it turns out, one of the cars that headed toward Okonomiya after the festival was over was Takano's. She lives in Okonomiya, that makes sense. It wouldn't be strange for her to head back home after the festival. However, she was the only one inside the car. Tomitake wasn't with her. Tomitake always comes to Hanamizawa on his bike. Then she could have loaded his bike in the trunk and given him a ride, but he wasn't with her. However, his body was found among the rice fields near Okonomiya, past where the cruiser was patrolling in Hanamizawa. What are you saying? There's no way he could have biked through the dark woods to avoid the police cruiser. He somehow took the road without being noticed by us. Furuta, can you tell me what you know about the relationship between Tomitake and Takano? They're dating? That's all I know. I find it hard to believe Takano would drive back home alone in the dark without her boyfriend. What if she had Tomitake in her trunk and was planning to dump his body in the woods, but because the cruiser was in the area, she had no choice but to pass by and dump him on the side of the road. Both Tomitake and Takano were sent here from Tokyo. See, I like how Ishi's thinking, because he's not stupid, right? Like he's following the evidence, and this is exactly what I said. The minute you're gonna suspect someone of murder, you're supposed to suspect the person. You're supposed to suspect their circle of known associates, starting with the people who would gain the most and the people closest to them. Both Tomitake and Takano were sent here from Tokyo. I have no idea what their real identities are. I can't say Takano had no reason to kill Tomitake, but I never considered that possibility before in my life. You've lived literally a century and you didn't know, you didn't look up murder investigations or how the police operate? I feel like a library would really have helped you. Rika, just being like, I want to spend this week at the library. I want knowledge. And just read about police investigations. So you can at least learn how to investigate your own fucking murder before it happens. Something like that would be really handy, because now you know it might be someone near you that kills you. Takano killing Tomitake, but why? I can't think of any reason. Nothing comes to mind. It's hard to imagine Takano was cornered to the point she had to kill him. In fact, it's more plausible to think she was enraged when the lovesick Tomitake acted cold towards her and she strangled him. I really thought they suited each other. I don't mean to insult Tomitake. I thought Takano was way too smart for him. Have you ever heard any rumors she's trying to use him for anything? No, but I can ask her. I'll let you know if I find out something. Thank you very much. I'm glad the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama is on my side. Even the reincarnation couldn't solve this mystery for over 100 years. But Takano was killed too? How can she be the culprit? Well, it's because you leaked me the information. I mean, the prophecy. Without that, I'm sure I would have just believed both Takano and Tomitake were victims of the 5th year's curse. I feel like it's different this time. Maybe as though someone is trying to make the curse happen. You really think Takano's the culprit? Basically, this is what Uishi is trying to say. They're not both victims. The culprit is pretending to be a victim. It's really hard for me to believe. Who, for 100 years? Rika has relived this life for over a century. He's been reliving, the last year for at least 100 attempts. And this time she only got like 2 weeks. So imagine like reliving the 2 weeks for like 100 years. So she's literally done this life for like a century and never even considered the person closest to Tomitake is the murderer. Like, at some point, you're like, who could the murderers be? And you should just investigate every single person you know. Right? But she kind of gives up at some point, and we don't know how early or late that was, so maybe she gave up 2 or 3 years into the loops and was just like, fuck this, I'm done. I don't know what her resolve's like, or how strong-willed she is. I imagine after you've redone things 2 or 3 times, it probably gets boring, right? And she might have given up after a couple rids. I can't think of any reason why Takano would do something like this. Uishi only feels the way he does because he doesn't know her as well as I do. For another thing, how can he explain Takano's body? Didn't the police in Gifu Prefecture identify the body? For a charred corpse, the easiest way to identify them is their dental records, although, according to the old man in forensics, they're not 100% sure. And there's a contradiction with the estimated time of death. It just doesn't make sense. What do you mean? Well, the test results show she was dead on the night before the festival. Apparently they inspected the contents of her stomach and such. But at the time of testing, they already had information about Takano. They knew she was at the festival that night and realized the test results didn't quite match up, so they just dumped the results and decided to take the dental records alone. These things do happen every once in a while, but if Takano really is the culprit, this body might belong to someone else. Is it possible to do something like that? When a body's burnt, dental records are the only way to identify it. This might sound too much like a mystery novel, but what if, for example, someone faked Mio's dental records? If they were skillfully forged, we could have the wrong ID. Anyway, the Gifu department made up their mind that the body belongs to Takano. Within police departments, we sometimes have issues with false test results. That's how false charges are made. Feels like to me like this is one of those times. You think Takano's alive? Since last night, both Mio Takano and her car have gone missing. If that body found in Gifu isn't Takano, it's going to be interesting indeed. Suddenly, the doors are flung wide open and she has a new possibility. Takano planned the murder and it's possibly killing her too. Because now you might know who your murderer is. Yuri had already heard about the deaths of Tomitake and Takano. It seemed like both the clinic and the office had flown into a panic over it. It's funny how they make a big fuss about their own people when they don't care about what happens to other people's lives if it would get in the way of their research. Takano's subordinate Okonogi was in the room. He's the leader of the mountain dogs. I came here to make sure he's still willing to protect me. Based on past experience, they tend to lose interest in protecting me after Takano dies. Okonogi. Takano's dead. Am I still safe? Don't worry, Rika. We'll still keep up the tight security around you. You don't have to call the police. I guess this is part of the tight security? They must have been listening to my conversation with Uishi. She told me something. Is it true Takano isn't really dead? That can't be true. The Gifu department made an official announcement. Uishi's retiring this year, isn't he? Sometimes he makes up stories because he's desperate to solve the curse of Oyashiro. You shouldn't pay attention to anything he says. Well, he's not wrong. This year is Uishi's last chance. He's so desperate, he's developed a bad habit of listening to every rumor he hears. What's your opinion about this, Okonogi? Right now they're investigating. I can't say anything. Knowing the relationship between those two, it's clear this was done by someone in the organization. I glanced over at Eri as I listened to Okonogi speak. It seemed whoever he was talking to over the phone was accusing him of killing them, and Eri was frantically trying to prove his innocence. Soon enough, he hung up the phone. Eri looked upset. He was under suspicion after working so hard for the organization. Oh, Rika, I'm sorry for making you wait. Seems you're in big trouble. Just as you heard, it sounds like there's some big conspiracy behind their deaths. People in Tokyo think I'm the one pulling the strings. Good grief, I have a lot of questions how they figure that out. I rarely see Eri get so emotional. He must be feeling as though all his efforts being repaid with injustice. However, it's a fact. He's trying to fight against the budget cuts and the downsizing of his research team. Tokyo's thinking this could be his motive for killing them. In any case, everyone in the organization is suspicious. I understand how scared he must feel. The people who attacked Takano and Tomitake could be after you too. The people in Tokyo are quite concerned about that. We got the order to tighten up your security, don't worry. I really need to hear that. This is the first time the Mountain Dogs had ever tightened up my security. They usually become so busy keeping tabs on Eri after Tomitake and Takano's deaths, they end up ignoring me. Even though they're dead, I'm still in a favorable situation. Did you have any idea who killed them? People in Tokyo are investigating that now. Based on the situation, it's clear this was done by someone within the organization. I guess I'm their prime suspect. Not the only one who killed Tomitake like that. That's not true. The people in Tokyo are discussing the use of H173. But that drug was destroyed when the research was cancelled. It's impossible. However, they have no choice but to suspect you in this case. Tomitake even took a vaccine before he came here, but he still got infected. Might be an extremely unlikely coincidence. Anyway, it's impossible. Eri is usually a calm person, but once the people in Tokyo suspect him, he often loses his mind. You think Takano might be the culprit? She's someone within the organization. Takano? Oh wait. But as he spoke, Eri started to realize everything could be explained if Takano was the culprit. But I don't know how to persuade him that it's the truth. Well, we're getting progress, right? More than anything, people want to hear a motive. Not who did something, but why. Knowing that probably isn't as important as it sounds. After all, you never know the motive unless the suspect talks. Guessing about motive is usually a waste of time. In other words, it's stupid to assume Takano isn't the culprit because you don't know her motive. You can't say something like that without proof. She was very nice to you. How can you suspect her after that? Upon hearing me be ungrateful towards his boss, Okanogi flashed me an unpleasant smile. It's true, Takano was very nice. It might be disrespectful to suspect her, however I can't trust her completely yet. Perhaps I've developed the same bad habits as Uishi. Well, I mean, I assume you've suspected your friends of killing you, since they all seem to go berserk in several routes. And if you don't think they're the killer, then maybe you suspect someone else who isn't known to go crazy during all the routes. Am I believing every crazy theory I hear because I'm desperate to escape my fate? Possibly. In any case, something bad's going on around here. We need to be careful. Don't worry, we got an order to tighten up our security too. Eri smiled bitterly. For him, their protection wouldn't be too different from stalking. Rika, make sure you don't give up too much information to the police. I think you understand, but you could create a problem if you talk to them about our secrets. He was implying he'd have to kill anyone I talk to. It isn't the first time they've warned me about this. It's just, well, what if Takano really is the culprit? If she is, then Okanogi almost certainly involved too. It'd make sense he wouldn't want me to suspect Takano. But that would be horrifying. If Takano's my enemy, then the mountain dogs were too. This whole clinic's a lion's den. If Eri is just a researcher, he probably wouldn't know what's going on. This is not looking good. The more I thought about it, the more confused I got. Why would Takano do something like this? I thought I'd just convince myself the motive shouldn't matter, but I can't stop thinking about it. Is she really behind it all? Yep, she is. Am I going as crazy as Uishi just because of how badly I want to solve the mystery? Perhaps the mountain dogs are more like wolves looking after a flock of sheep. I've lived for over 100 years. I never once found out who killed me, and I stayed close to the Eri Institute so they'd protect me. What if that's my mistake? Well, I'm sure Eri has no bad intentions. In many lives, I got to see how genuine his feelings are. I can trust him, however, he's not really reliable. Sorry, Eri. Okanogi glanced at me. He smiled and told me not to worry, but I noticed an evil glint in his eye. It's possible I have Hinamizawa syndrome and that was just a hallucination. I don't quite understand anything. I don't even know who my enemies are anymore. Oh, there's no point in thinking about this any longer. I have to only trust who I know I can trust for sure. There's only a few people that though. Eri, Uishi, and my friends. If Okanogi is on Takano's side, he'll be watching me closely. If I start accusing Takano of anything, who knows what they do to me. When this world first began, I thought I had no time left, but that wasn't true. The number of things that happened in 2 weeks were immense. I probably only have a few days until the day of my death, but what can I do? How can I change this? Am I supposed to take Hanyu's advice and resign this time? I mean, I think here we can try to get more information. There's opportunities here. We're getting information that we didn't have in previous routes. And we're pushing in a new direction with new information. We may as well try to exploit this possibility. This is the first time in over 100 playthroughs that our character has ever heard the proposition that Takano could be the killer or even considered it, despite the fact that they are boyfriend-girlfriend, which is absolutely insane. She should be on the top 10, if not the number one suspicious person in any murder, considering that Tomitake has much looser relationships to literally everybody else. So I'm a little bit surprised she hasn't tried to figure out if she's the killer. I mean, she seems to know Eri very well, but she doesn't seem to be confident that she knows Takano that well. Next day. Alright. Yeah, she's been missing since the night of Watanagashi. Could it be the curse of Oishiro-sama? It's freaky this happened 5 years in a row now. Alright, so it looks like we're probably still from Rika's perspective here. It always was a small village. Rumors spread fast here. Besides, it's Mion Sonosaki. She'd have found out about this yesterday, even if the police were trying to hide it. My friends were talking about the mysterious deaths of Tomitake and the disappearance of Takano. People in the village are superstitious. No matter what happens, they conclude everything is the curse of Oyashiro. The past incidents don't matter to me either way. All I'm interested in is the current one. The culprit of this case will probably kill me too. 2 days passed since Watanagashi. Today is Tuesday, June 21st, 1983. At the earliest, I'll get killed on the night of the 22nd. Tomorrow night. The day of my death is always different. I end up getting killed, but the day it happens, well, it varies. I guess the culprit has their own reasons for that. There's only one thing I'm sure about, though. Based on my experiences, I'll live for sure until tomorrow night. And after that, I have to live with the fear of getting murdered at any moment. Still, there's no reason to be afraid. When I wake up, I'll be in a brand new world again. I can never remember how I'm killed. That's why I'm not that afraid of the killing itself. I'm just frustrated. My life is about repeating the same thing over and over, like a broken record. However, at present, I'm frustrated. My classmates expect their days will continue forever. Peaceful, relaxing, but I couldn't feel that way. I feel frustrated and full of sorrow, as if I really don't want to die. Tomorrow. Are you ready, Rika? Yep, Keiichi is becoming self-aware of the time loop, and other people seem to have vague memories. Like, Shion's actually showed up because of what she did in, Arc 5? And 2? So she vaguely remembers a couple things. They don't quite remember exactly what happened, but they remember, like, they see, like, they seem to have, like, impressions that things will go way worse, or they'll be easily able to visualize how badly things go when they see the start of one of the bad ends, or, like, things go dark. How foolish do you think? What makes it look like it? Anyu's trying to warn me I might get killed tomorrow, as though she already knew it was going to happen for sure. It's very hard, Rika. Life's Watanagashi was the best festival I ever had. Did you feel that way too? It was fun. Really was. Satoko had band-aids all over her face, but everyone was there together. We kicked up a storm. I want this world to continue forever. I can't accept this is going to end tomorrow at the earliest, or within 1 or 2 weeks at the latest. I'm sure your next life will be just as fun. So this world is over in 10 months? Yeah, it's such a happy world, but it's going to end like that. All my friends are alive and happy. Keiichi doesn't feel alone. Reina's family is happy. Mion and Shion get along. Shion and Satoko get along. The issue of Satoko's uncle's resolved. She's no longer treated coldly by the other villagers. It's the best world I've ever experienced, but this world is gonna end. Rika, you think of yourself as a normal person too often. We're both special beings. Everyone wants their birthday party to continue forever. But the party always ends. That's why children always wish for their enjoyable moments to continue forever. It doesn't mean they'll grieve over a party that's ended. Once they sleep, another day comes for them. Something wonderful will happen again. No one disappears like Cinderella once the party's over. What a way for you to describe my view on life. I like a child that's crying because she doesn't want to leave the party. There's no need to feel sad, is there? There'll be another party tomorrow. Soon. I hate to go through another death, but it's only like sleeping for a while, isn't it? Anyu, don't you want to see what lies beyond June 1983? I'd be lying if I said I didn't, but I'm more concerned about you being consumed by that thought, getting hurt because of it. You just don't understand. Without you, I'd have to live for a long time without anyone to talk to. I'll only be able to stare at the festival without being a part of it. No one will see me. No one will be able to hear me or talk to me. you have any idea how miserable and lonely it'll be? Finally found you, Rike. I can't survive without you anymore. He's so desperate for us to live. I can't just die like you can either. I have to live alone until the end of time. I have to be alone until someone like you shows up again. I don't want that. I can't stand the thought. Hanyu. I feel sorry for Hanyu. Rike, please take back the heart-breaking promise you made. I want you to give up. This world doesn't work for you. You tell it. See, this girl's way older than us? Yes. And she's the most apathetic person to literally any of the problems that happen. She's just like, well, it is what it is. We not only have a literal ghost, we have a literal ghost working as our agent. Well, we have a literal ghost on our side, but she's completely unwilling to work for us as our agent. She's basically just like, yep, whatever happens, happens. Not my fucking problem. In fact, I want you to stay here because you'll live forever. Right? Hanyu is presumably like 1,000 years old. 1,000 real world years, not including the looping. So, cause she's from like, she's like actually a demon. And she's like a demon spirit or some shit. From way back when in ancient Japan. So, and she's been stuck without anyone to interact with this whole time. And Rika's the only person she's ever met that can see her. So if Rike permanently dies, like say dies of old age, you know, in a mere like 60 years, that sucks for her because she has to live like the next 1,000 years without ever interacting with anyone. So I can kind of see why she's like, well, I'd rather you just live this forever. I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna help you solve this shit because it works for my benefit. It's like, well, like from her perspective, she's gotten an entire century of interactions with Rike, even if it's like semi-hostile. Which is probably better for her than not interacting with Rike in a positive light for 50 years. And then Rike dies and she's like left alone. I think that's like her perspective. It's like, well, I know what 1,000 years of solitude means, so I don't really care about tomorrow because it's always the same as today. Yeah. Sorry. I have to think about it for a while. That's their core conflict, right? That one of them doesn't want the cycle to end at any point because this is their only joy in the last millennium has been Rike. I want to do what I can until the end. When that happens, I can decide what to do. If I think there's some hope, I can go on living. But if I feel desperate enough, I can just give up. That might not ultimately be a bad thing to repeat June 1983 over and over. I might be blessed with another fortunate life one day. Hanyu nodded with a little satisfaction after hearing that, sensing my feelings were starting to lean the way she wanted them. Oh yeah, and eventually, if Rike gets depressed enough, she'll become brain dead. That's the timer we're on. We don't have infinite time. If she gets like super depressed, she becomes, apparently she'll go brain dead and just like no longer exist. Friend, are you planning to take Rika-chan home with you? Kichi-kun, don't you think that Rika seems to be feeling down? I don't know, she might be tired from doing the dance at the festival. It's been like 2 days. Rika was sitting by herself wearing a sad expression. I'd said she might still be tired from the festival, but that wasn't really how it looked. Satoko's free now. I thought she'd have a Springer step, but she's been acting weird since yesterday. I wonder if something's going on. Satoko's issues are settled. There shouldn't be anything that's troubling her anymore. We thought Satoko and Rika might not be able to live together if they got a new guardian for Satoko, but that problem's almost solved. Either the Sonozakis or Kimiyoshi will become her guardian. Mayor Kimiyoshi is already Rika's. If the Sonozaki family gets custody, Satoko will become Shion's little sister. Anyway, I had no idea why Rika was acting upset. I think we should ask her what's going on. I don't want to think we're insensitive. I guess you can ask her, I guess. You're saying it's okay for me to be insensitive. Rana laughed, sticking her tongue out at me. Hey, that's fair, that's fair. I walked up to Rika and struck up a conversation. Perhaps something is still troubling Satoko, we just don't know about it. If that's the case, we need to help her. Well, you don't look so good. Is anything weird going on? Oh, Kichi. Rika had been daydreaming, and it took her a while to realize I was talking to her. Did I look upset or something? Kind of. Is there anything the matter? Took her a while to answer. Such a long silence had to mean yes. Kichi, there's a poem I want you to listen to. Don't ask me who wrote it. I just want to know what you think. Alright, let's hear it then. Rika closed her eyes and recited a short poem. It went something like this. Everyone has the right to be happy, yet it's so hard to receive. Everyone has the right to be happy, yet it's so hard to fulfill. I have the right to be happy, yet it's hard to compromise. Well, that's an interesting poem. Did you write it? Oh, I'm not supposed to ask, am I? No, you're... No. What did you think after hearing it? A grim eclipse scream when? I heard the Ruby games were atrocious, actually. I've stayed away from them, like, I haven't even touched them. I heard literally nothing but bad things about all the Ruby the Ruby game. From production disaster to actual gameplay disaster. Like, the game is apparently atrocious. So, the game isn't bad? I can't tell if that's... If you're high on copium, but I've literally heard nothing but bad about that. It gets boring fast. I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse. I think Extella, gameplay-wise, gets pretty boring fast too, actually. But I played through all the first Extella. It got carried on its story, which I mean isn't the end of the world. Yeah, it had a really good story, which is ripping. It's repetitive. I mean, if the story or the gameplay is fun, it might be alright for like a few hours. Stella had good story at least. Oof. Oh no, you're slamming the story too. That's not good. What do you think after hearing it? Everyone has the right to be happy. It's so hard to receive. I understand that. Everyone does have the right to be happy, but that doesn't mean everyone can receive that happiness. Everyone has the right to be happy, yet it's hard to fulfill. This one's harder to understand. Exercising that right probably refers to the process of finding happiness. Everyone has the right to work hard for their happiness. It's not that easy for that work to bear fruit. I have the right to be happy, but it's hard to compromise. I guess she's talking about compromising your happiness? There's no limit to human desires. You can never stop wanting more. That's why people need to make compromises on their happiness. At least that's how I understand it. If she was trying to say we should be satisfied with what we have, it sounds like a positive statement. But there's a negative tone to the way it's presented. I think the poem reflects the feelings of the writer. I think so too. What else did you think? She wouldn't admit it, but I'm sure Rika's the one who made that poem, and it's reflecting on how she's feeling. I'm not that smart, but even I can understand that. Well, I thought it was a sad poem. Sad? I understand the first two lines. Everyone has the right to be happy. Not everyone can become happy easily. I think they're describing the difficult parts of our lives, but the last line is different. Making compromises is the same as giving up. The writer of this poem has given up on their happiness, compromised with reality, and is trying to convince themselves they're happy. Trying to convince themselves, you say? With plenty of regrets, too. Everyone can become happy with enough effort, but she thinks she can't. The poem reflects their hopelessness. It's very sad. What do you think she should do? She shouldn't give up. Shouldn't give up? The writer of this poem knows how she can be happy. It's something she deserves. She's been thinking about how to become happy for a long time. You know, this would work a lot better if it was in Japanese, where they don't have to specify her all the time. They could just use the writer or not use any pronouns at all. If she really wants to be happy, she shouldn't give up. Remember, we overcame a desperate situation in only a few days. If we all work together, we can make a miracle happen. Because I bet I'm writer of the poem does not require a pronoun. And the rest of the time, you wouldn't need to specify who is saying it. Or who is feeling it. Saw with your own eyes, didn't you? What's troubling you? Talk to me! There's something I want to talk to all of you about, but if I do it, you won't be able to live in the village anymore. Happiness for me would be to see what's beyond June 1983 with all of you. It wouldn't mean anything if I lived beyond this June without you. We won't be able to live in Hinamizawa? Why? They'll kill you if I find out I talked to you. That's why I can't say anything. What do you mean, they'll kill us? Are you being threatened by someone? The word kill is not something most people use casually, and I was shocked to hear it coming from her mouth. That's why I couldn't help but raise my voice. I don't know who the enemy is and who's not. The only thing I know for sure is someone's going to kill me. Wait, Rika? Talk to me. What's going on? Is Teppei threatening her? No, that's impossible. The police arrested him. Besides, the family told us to never come back to the village. Or told him to never come back. There's no way he'd contact Rike to threaten her. Even if that somehow was the case, Rike could talk to Mion and everything would be taken care of. Based on her expression, it seems this is deeper than that. Sorry, if I talk to you, you'll be dragged into this. If I lose you, I have no more reason to survive. But I can't. I just can't talk to you about it. I'm not going to compromise my happiness. I don't understand what you're trying to say, but you sound like Satoko did a few days ago. Like Satoko? Yeah. You're thinking it's better to be patient and you forgot the courage needed to fight. You sound something like that. Weren't you the one who told Satoko to be brave over the phone? My words clearly hurt Rika's feelings. She bit her lip and went quiet. If I talk to you, you might be killed too. Well, I don't want that, but if we don't do anything, you're dead, right? We don't want a future without you either, Rika. What? You may not want to get us involved, but we don't want to lose you either. We welcome the struggle. Besides, you know how powerful we can be together. I'm sure we can solve anything if we work together as one. Not even our combined strength can solve this problem. You don't want to talk to us because you don't want to drag us into it? Well, what you're saying is you want to die without telling us? Guess that's what I'm saying. Don't think being patient is the same as being brave. Remember the courage to fight? You can talk to me anytime once you organize your feelings. We'll help you. You can count on us. Thank you. Rika was wearing a sorrowful smile. I could tell she appreciated the sympathy. Yesterday is Yang's birthday. Yeah, it's still today for me, but you're right. Absolutely right. How do I know that? Because I saw a comment somewhere saying that before I was streaming. Which means this is a fortuitous day, and clearly the right day to get back on the Ruby train after... Why did I stop? You know, I'm pretty sure I stopped because I ran out of episodes. That's usually how it goes. I'm like, oh, there's more episodes, and then I just don't ever watch them because I forget or I'm busy. I feel like that's usually how it goes. I don't know why, but Rika is troubled by something. It's a matter of life and death for her. She can't even talk to us about it. At the very least, she won't talk to me. Oh, it's Kichi. Is Rika troubled by something? It doesn't happen very often. Satoko, this is gonna sound strange. Is there any chance someone's threatening Rika's life? What? What in the world are you saying, Kicha? Rika-chama is the village mascot. People worship her. No one would ever try to kill her. What's this? What are you talking about? The more I talked to my friends, the stranger it seemed someone would try to kill Rika. Everyone was more confused than I felt. Rika didn't talk to me about what's troubling her, but I'm sure there's something serious going on with her. If she really trusts us, I'm sure she'll talk to us soon. Let's believe everything she tells us if she opens her heart. Okay? We all looked at each other and nodded. Alright. That scene or chapter end? That'd be a short chapter, right? It feels like it'd be a really short chapter. Shit, alright. That was a short chapter. Son of God promises he would be resurrected within 3 days. Sinful men guarded his grave to make sure he wouldn't wake up, but that was foolish of them. He meant his spirit and his lessons would be resurrected, not his physical shell. Do not be afraid of physical death. If you achieve great things, you will live again. You will surpass death and become immortal. A demon took the Son of God to a cliff and told him to jump. He claimed if he was really the Son of God, a miracle would help him survive. He tried to challenge the Lord, and the Lord challenges humans. But humans may not challenge the Lord. The challenge is to suspect, and suspicion will speak words of evil into your ears, making you falter. Do not doubt your own achievements. Do not doubt your own life. Do not doubt your contributions, and apparently don't doubt God. Do not let others criticize your achievements. It's the same as doubting your own life. Ifumi T. It said parts 2 and 3, but it felt like just part 2. It felt like it was just part 2. And 11. Man, I'm gonna regret clicking continue here, but I'm clicking it anyway. I need to see what's next. I need to see what's next. When I woke up, the first thing I saw were Satoko and the calendar. The first to wake up is supposed to tear yesterday's date off the calendar. Sometimes we both tear the calendar by mistake, so the date ends up 2 days ahead. Oops. Satoko likes to tear the calendar and then makes her wake up early every morning. That would usually make me smile, but I felt devastated as soon as I saw the 22nd on the calendar. It's today. June 22nd, the day I die. Good morning. Good morning, Rike. Morning, you two. You two? Are you still asleep? There's someone else living in the house other than you and I. I just said good morning to that person as well. But, hey, don't try and spook me like that. Satoko won't be able to sleep without holding my hand tonight. Sometimes I feel like Satoko can see Hanyu, and it's if the three of us are living together, and that would be a lot of fun. It was time to go to school, but my body felt heavy. Today I'm gonna die, and knowing that, I didn't even feel like going to school. The more I repeated the same life, the more precisely I can detect the day of my death. I always die on the day I feel this way. Rike, we gotta get going soon. I'm taking the day off today. Rike, I heard from K-Chat. Are you troubled by something? Kind of, but not really. What else is there left to do? Today is the day. It's not too late now. But part of me still feels like doing something. I've been in this world only a few days. My emotions went up and down like a roller coaster. Sometimes I felt motivated to fight. Other times I felt desperate and gave up. Even though Keiichi and everyone else showed me such strength, I lacked the will to fight against my fate. The most confidence I ever felt was when the dice came up sixes. A fortunate confidence that was handed to me. I was hoping to gain the courage to fight against my fate, but here I am again, conceding to destiny. Keiichi told me we can make a miracle if we work together. But there's something he didn't teach me. He didn't teach me how to believe in it. If I don't believe I can make a miracle happen, I won't crack the wall of fate. It seems so simple, but it's so difficult. Well, that's true. I couldn't even decide whether I should be on the stage or stay off it and remain a spectator. I told Hanyu I haven't decided what to do after the world's over, but that's the spectator's point of view. For people on the stage, this world is the only one. For them, the end of the world means the end of their lives, and that's why they do anything to change their fate. That's why they can make a miracle happen. I've never worked hard, though, because I always knew I could reset my life. I thought I was just one pathetic girl who couldn't change her own fate, and that's why I ended up here again today. It's as if I slack off on my summer homework, waking up on the last day of vacation with nothing completed. What am I supposed to do? Should I not work on my assignment, knowing I'm not going to make it on time anyway? Or should I do what I can, even though I may still get in big trouble? Perhaps a miracle will happen. Perhaps the homework will be done overnight. Miracles don't happen to homework. I have to do the homework on my own. Without effort, nothing will get done. Without effort, not even one question gets solved. I think you spend your day doing what you want to. You can drink by the window all day, just the way you like to. You're suggesting I shouldn't do anything because I'll get in trouble anyway? For Hanyu, it's not about the homework, it's about the vacation itself. The vacation will be over no matter how much I want it to continue. In her eyes, it's pathetic to make a big deal of not completing my homework and contemplating whether I should still work on it or not. On top of that, I'm saying I might as well die if my vacation's gonna be over. If I was in her boots, I'd be laughing hysterically. Keiichi told me to seek everyone's help to finish my homework, but I'm not taking that offer, not only because I don't want to cause them trouble, I don't want the teacher to know I got help from them. If I was gonna have regrets, I should have worked on it from the beginning. If I had no intention of working on it, I should have just relaxed without stressing. If I didn't care what other people thought, I should have asked for their help in the first place. Those are the three options I talked about with Hanyu yesterday. I didn't choose any of them. I've been living for over 100 years, but I still can't decide. 100 years wasted. Satoko, I'm not going to school today because I have a cold. Is that so? You want me to take your temperature? I'm interested today. Could you tell Chie I'm not coming because I'm sick? Rike, are you really sick? Keiichi told me you're worried someone's trying to kill you. I'm concerned. You realize? Thank you. You should go now. You'll be late. Satoko looked at the clock and back to me again. I'm very happy right now. I'm happy I'm back with everyone, and I'm living with you again. So, if I lose you, I'll be living in a sad world. Just think about that. World without you. Yes, the world without you would be a very sad world. I never thought about that. You know what you also haven't thought about? The fact that there's a gas stack gonna kill everyone, so it doesn't matter if you survive this. I never thought about the world after my death. That was never my concern. Please, take care of yourself. It isn't just me. If anything happens to you, everyone will be sad. Satoko. Rike. I'll leave you alone today. Please talk to me if you have something on your mind. It's kind of upsetting knowing how... Won't talk to me. Satoko seemed like she wanted to say more, but she looked at the floor instead. I know what she's trying to say. I realize how selfishly I've been living. It was wrong for me to look at this world as a stage play, but it's too late. Too late now. Satoko left the house in a hurry. Hanyu and I were left alone inside the house. I can tell you want to be alone. I'll disappear until you call for me. Thanks. You're still yourself, even after 100 years. You're not a 100-year-old transcendent. You deserve to think about your life as a young girl. I don't want to force you to think like a grown-up. Not your fault, Hanyu. I was just being arrogant. Call me if you want to talk. You're not crying anymore? You're not going to beg me not to give up on my life? You're a stubborn person. I know it's better not to be too persistent with you. After all these years, you know me all too well. I know you're aware, but let me say this. Today is the day. Do your best. No matter what you do or don't do, the world ends today. But if you wish for it, you'll see a brand new day, just like when morning comes. You might find yourself back in June or this year, but it'll still be a brand new day. When I was younger, every day seemed boring. Every morning I thought the same thing would happen after I woke up. This just means it'll end up being true. I tell you to live this day productively. I'm not going to say anything else to you. I knew today was the day, but it's difficult to hear that from you. It's going to come to an end, again, huh? Yes, it's going to end again. Just like always. Hanyu disappeared and it went completely quiet inside the house. How should I spend my day? How do I end this? Should I work on my homework knowing I'm not going to make it? I only have half a day left. I have to do my best. I should think about what I can do. This world's supposed to be a happy place. People enjoy their lives. I should have enjoyed my life more too. I don't mean I should have lived in blind optimism, but maybe I could have fully experienced both happiness and sadness. If I did that, I wouldn't be as worried about what to do after my death. I should have simply lived with all my might. When the time comes, it'll be over. Today, It's an important phrase, but it sounds meaningless when I say it, because I can repeat this life as many times as I wish. Going outside? Or are we just hanging out here? While Satoko was at school, I washed the dishes. Hanyu would usually stay with me when Satoko wasn't around. But she's not here right now. It's been a while since I was all by myself. Taking some time to think. I never thought anyone could feel so lonely while washing the dishes. I'm gonna die today anyway. The world ends today. Why should I wash these? That's because I'm thinking about Satoko, who will have to move on with her life after tomorrow. I'll encounter a new Satoko in the next world, but I realized something after hearing what Satoko told me earlier. After I'm dead, I wonder how Satoko will move on with her life. The worlds I've left in the past went on without me. I wonder if Satoko will cook without me. I wonder if she can go shopping on her own. I wonder if she can wash her clothes by herself. I've been avoiding thinking about this, but Satoko and my other friends must have been overcome by sadness. It's too late for me to think about this, but I started feeling like I want to cry. Well, there's good news. It's not very good news, but most of your friends won't have time to mourn you because they'll also be dead. So, there's your mixed blessings, Rika. You don't have to think about it because in reality, they die in almost every single playthrough. There's one route where one person doesn't die. Shion doesn't die if she's not in Hinamizawa, but she sometimes goes crazy and kills herself later anyway. Keiichi might live in one route. In the route where he kills Teppe, he lives. and he's miserable for the rest of his life, so there's not really any victory here, even if you survive. Feeling like this because I don't want to leave the world. This is the world I always wanted, my hope that I can continue living in this world beyond June 1983 is alive. After a long journey, I finally ended up in this world, but I was able to truly live in this world for only one night. The night of Watanagashi. This world will be shattered again after I die tonight. We finally save Satoko, and all our friends assume our happy life has returned. However, I'm going to die tonight. Gotta be rough being Rika, isn't it? They'll mourn for me. We worked so hard to make a miracle happen, but they're going to lose their happy world in one day. Am I gonna start a new life in the next world, as if nothing happened? I'd live 3 days in my new world, but 3 sad days were going to pass in this world. Not good. Can't think straight anymore. I couldn't stop the tears from flowing from my eyes. I hugged Satoko's pillow and cried. I could smell her scent, and after I die, Satoko will probably hug my pillow and cry just like this. Is everyone else going to cry for me too? Sure they will. And? They'll be sad, not about my death. They'll be sad, not because I'm dead, but because I never told them about what was troubling me so much. I wonder if they're going to feel regret. Will they wonder what they could have done to open up my heart? What they could have done to help me in my time of trouble? Will they wonder what they could have done to save me? I felt miserable and frustrated. I held Satoko's pillow and continued to cry. And the next moment I heard the phone ringing. I tried to ignore it, but it wouldn't stop ringing. I picked it up, hoping my friends would call to check on me. However, I heard a weird guy's voice coming from the receiver. Hello. This is Okanogi Gardeners. This is the Furude residence. Okanogi? It was Okanogi from the Mountain Dogs. Oh, the gardener. Hey, remember when we were paranoid about the Okanogi Gardeners being a hit squad? Remember that in Reina's arc? When Reina was paranoid about them being a hit squad, and they actually are? Kind of funny. It was the first time I'd received a phone call from him. I'm calling because I have something urgent to ask you. I called the school, but they told me you're sick today. Are you feeling alright? I'm not alright. It's the day I die. I knew he had no idea, but I still couldn't help but feel upset. Only a cold. I just want to rest a bit. Really? Well, that's a fortunate coincidence. What? I had no idea what made him say he was glad I was sick. Why is it fortunate for you, Emma? Well, we got a tip from Tokyo someone's planning to murder you. What do you mean? Tokyo was investigating the murder of Tomitake and Takano. Interesting. Their investigation concluded there's a high possibility Eri is pulling the strings. Eri's behind everything? It's the first time I've heard something like this. It's not something that happens at random, it's the very first time. Means it's not just a coincidence. I'm hearing this now because of something I did differently in the world. I've done many things differently in this world, though. I can't tell which decision led me here. However, maybe this is something that could change my life drastically. Okanogi continued to explain to me. There had been budget cuts to their research. They were scheduled to be shut down in a few years. Eri was strongly against it because he was embezzling their research money by requesting bigger and bigger budgets. So they're Eri among us. So they're accusing Eri of being the killer of Takano, Tomitake, and now Rika? Because they were going to cancel the research, he tried to sell the data and make a lot of money off of it. Is that really true? I know it's hard to believe, but it is. I always thought he was kind of suspicious myself. I think I can say with certainty Eri is not that type of person. I've been around him for years, and as far as I know, he's not a bad guy. He doesn't even have the guts to be one. He pretends to be cold-hearted for the sake of his research, but he can't shake his regrets. He's simply a nice person. Is Eri being framed? I think the odds are Eri is being framed here, but then again, we've seen the evidence lead us astray before. So even though we've actually seen Takano murder Tomitake because she works for a different bureau of the government, I don't fucking know if Eri is the villain here. It seems suspicious since he's consistently been fighting for other people. Murdering Rika doesn't make a lot of sense. It's hard to believe he was embezzling money from Tokyo. I mean, that one's believable. I'm starting to be suspicious of Takano, but she's actually a nice person too. She seemed mean at times, but she could act as innocent as a child. However, I'm starting to suspect her because Uishi told me the body they found in Gifu may not be her body. Okanogi works for Takano. That means I can't necessarily trust him. In other words, I can trust Iri because Okanogi is clearly trying to set him up. On the other hand, if Takano isn't guilty, I could be making a huge mistake. Yet it always seems to me as though Tomitake and Iri were good friends. If Tokyo suspected Iri was embezzling money from them, Tomitake would have treated him far more coldly. Anyway, at the very least, Tomitake didn't have such a bad impression of Iri. The Iri of the Iri Institute and Tomitake of Tokyo were good friends. Tomitake of Tokyo and Takano were good friends. Takano of Tokyo and Okanogi of Tokyo were superior and subordinate. But Okanogi says that Tokyo is suspicious of Iri. Doesn't make sense. Everyone's good friends at first glance, but the links don't connect from start to finish. Iri thinks he has a positive relationship with Tokyo, but Tokyo is suspicious of him? That's weird. The chain should be connected, but one of the links is twisted out of order. It's breaking the loop. Tokyo is conducting further investigations at the moment. We have information Iri is trying to use you as a bargaining chip. For that reason, we've been told to tighten up your security starting today. That's why I'm glad you're at home right now. There's 20 security guards patrolling the Furude Shrine in 3 shifts. You may not notice, but they're there for you. A lot of security. How long are you going to guard me like that? Until Tokyo feels you're no longer in danger. Until this case is resolved. That should have been good news for me, since today is the day I'm supposed to die. It's exactly the kind of security I wanted. That's why I let Takano into the ritual storehouse. However, I have a bad feeling about this. Tokyo should be my ally, but that arrangement is just like Iri's relationship with Tokyo. Everything seems in order from my end, but when you trace it the other way, it seems like something's off at some point. I have this feeling because I have a few uncertainties about Tokyo. Tokyo and Iri have strong ties, but they're suspicious of him? Is Iri actually a bad guy? Is Takano still alive? Is she the one who killed Tomitake? These questions and more made me uncertain about accepting help from Tokyo. I thought Tokyo, a single organization, would move with a single intention, but in reality, they have multiple different intentions. In other words, there must be multiple... what's the word? I see it in the political section of the newspapers. Factions. There's 2 factions in Tokyo. One who wants to remain friendly with Iri, and one that looks down on him. That explains irregularities I'm sensing. Will Keiichi try to get closer to Iri to find the truth? I don't know if Keiichi's going to pursue Iri in any way. Now, we're mostly focusing on Rika this arc, and honestly, I haven't seen Keiichi try to get closer to Iri to find the truth, other than in a Satoko route, which this is, but the last time he stumbled on Iri's dead body, rather than stumbled on the police who had already found Iri's body, after he supposedly kills himself, later today, I think. Maybe I've been talking to Uishi too much. If he hadn't told me he was suspicious of Takano, would I have believed Okanoki without a doubt? I mean, now you have 2 suspicious... You have 2 people to investigate. Oh well, maybe not. Even without Uishi's theory, Okanogi sounded very suspicious. Iri was loyal to his research on Hinamizawa syndrome. Tokyo understood this, so his relationship wasn't particularly strained. Iri isn't the type of person who'd commit embezzlement. He's a law-abiding citizen with good moral character, which is exactly the type of person who will commit embezzlement. Anyway, of course, he has some ambition as a researcher, but that only goes as far as common sense expects researchers to. It's nothing like criminal aspirations that would lead to major embezzlement. A great member of the Mountain Dogs. A great number of the Mountain Dogs are guarding me. This is what I wanted in my previous lives. But for some reason, I couldn't be happy about it. I couldn't help but feel depressed. Things seem to be going your way. If this house is like an empty birdcage, then they'd be the fox with feathers stuck to its face. I don't know if I can really trust the people protecting me. I tried to recall more about Okanogi. Mountain Dogs have been protecting me for years, supposedly. Okanogi proved his skills in many of my other lives. To them, I'm something of a special existence. If something happens to me, it'd be a disaster. The Iri Institute is there to keep Hinamizawa syndrome under control, and the Mountain Dogs are there to protect me from evildoers. Why would they try to betray me? Maybe they've never been trying to protect you. They're just setting up for a betrayal. I thought about it for a while, but I had no idea. I just know one thing for sure. I can't feel comfortable with the protection of the dogs alone. I want someone other than Tokyo protecting me. I bet such a person wouldn't believe me. Wait, what about Uishi? I've been keeping in touch with him since the other day. He still thinks the mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa are plotted by the village authorities. If he believes that, he might believe my life is in danger. For him, I'm a special person with useful information. The dogs hate the police, though. When I asked them to assassinate Satoko's uncle, they refused because he was being watched by the police. I'd feel relieved if the police were guarding me along with the mountain dogs. That way the dogs wouldn't be able to harm me even if they're working for an evil faction of Tokyo. Besides that, if my suspicions toward them turn out to be baseless, more protection couldn't hurt. I'm sure that double security will keep me safe. You gonna call the police? I understand. I'll stay home for today. Yes, please do. And don't go into the city and try to pick a fight with delinquents. Me? Sorry about that. Anyway, please take care of yourself. You have a cold. May I go to the clinic? You never know what may happen. Please don't go near there for a while. I don't want them to inject you with anything suspicious. You'd never do anything like that. That's what we want to believe. But you need to be careful of him until things are cleared up. So I have no choice, huh? No. You've totally picked up the local dialect, Okinoki. I used to have a normal Tokyo accent. I like to think I can fix it when asked, though. After all, it's my job to blend in with the local culture. I finished speaking with him. As soon as I hung up the phone, I opened my phone book and looked for the number to the Okinomiya Police Department. It was nearly noon. It felt like the pages of the book were sticking to my skin. It must have been in a hurry. I really don't want to die. I want to stay in this world, and I don't want to leave this perfect world. I'm trying to do something because I don't want to die. I'm trying to live with all my might. I'm trying to enjoy my life. For the first time, I was spending my last day positively without drinking wine until I was drunk. Hello, it's Uishi. Okay, she's calling up Uishi. I'm curious what she's thinking, and if what I'm also curious is because they kept her away from the clinic. I'm very curious if she's if the timing coincides. Is Eri alive? I was getting ready to leave for Gifu Prefecture. I was going to browbeat them until they owed up to botching the case. Gifu? You're talking about Takano's body? Yeah, my colleagues are convinced the body is Takano. I'm not satisfied. That's why I'm going there myself. If that body isn't Takano, this is going to be a whole different story. We can put out a search for her as a material witness, see? Fortunately, I have a lot of connections in the Gifu Police Department. I'll go have a nice, long talk with them. It looked like Uishi was proactively moving forward with the investigation. If that body is Takano, it would be sad for her, but it would give me a reason to trust the mountain dogs. If it's not Takano, it would tell me she's part of this whole incident. No matter what the result is, it will give me some kind of hint. But only if I'm still alive. But really, it's unfortunate. Uishi is leaving for Gifu. He can't be around to protect me. Uishi? Some stranger called me today. I don't know who it was, but he said he's one of the villagers. He didn't tell you who he was? I see. Please go on. What did he tell you? He told me someone's going to kill me. He said they'd kill me tonight at the earliest. Is that true? I see. That's not outside the realm of possibility. I see. I have to leave soon, but I'll send an officer over there. I'll tell them to keep you safe. You're home right now, right? Do you have a cold or something? Just stay home and lock your doors and windows. I'll send someone over immediately. What's wrong, Uishi? You'll be late for your appointment. I got a call from Rika. Someone called to warn her she was going to be murdered. Someone's going to try to kill Rika? But why? I thought she was like the village mascot. Might be a warning for contacting me about the incidents in the village. I don't know if they're trying to kill her, but she's just a young girl. I'm sure she's frightened right about now. Plus, if we lose her trust, that might hurt our relationship in the future. 2 or 3 officers are enough. Just send them over at once. And get a hold of our local officer and have her reassure her some. Sir. Rika might have some kind of hint regarding the mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa, and Uishi couldn't let her die. We should head back to Hinamizawa as soon as we get to the Gifu Police Department. Get them to spill the beans. It's gonna be a pretty tight schedule for our business trip. It'll be a piece of cake. You're a cop, just turn on the sirens. You're a cop, just do what cops do half the time, and especially in these days when they can't track what's going on, and just turn on those sirens. This is Skylark. A local police officer's on the shrine property. He's headed towards R's house. Roger. Continue observation. Encountering R. He let the officer inside. R called the Okonomi Police Department. She'd requested protection on her own. Did she tell them about us? She told them she got an anonymous call. I'm sure that's made up. The Okonomi Police Department's sending a few more officers to our location. What? Doesn't she trust the mountain town? This is trouble. It's going to prove more difficult to continue the mission. It is possible. She somehow found it. We're probably safe. Just tell the team to be aware of the officers. We don't want them to become suspicious of us. Roger. HQ to all units. There are police officers around the Furude Shrine, and please be mindful of them. We may have to postpone tonight's mission. I'll call her. I'm not sure the major will order a go. Anyway, everything's already set up for R to be discovered dead. You're sure the major will order a go anyway? Everything's set up for R to be discovered dead tomorrow morning so we can move to the next stage? We don't want the police to suspect us. If they start suspecting you, just leave quietly. Uishi called the officers in pretty quickly. The officer who was in the area arrived 10 minutes after I spoke with him. That was fast. He asked me what kind of phone call I received today, and I decided to make up a whole story. It'd all be over if they check my call history, but I'm sure Uishi won't bother doing anything like that. Better yet, she got a call from people who did say something like that. He thinks I'm worth protecting because I have information about the incidents. The policeman's one of the villagers, so I know him well. 4 officers are coming from the department. The officer told me to relax because he'd stay with me until then. Uishi must have thought I was frightened half to death after getting a threatening phone call. About 30 minutes later, 4 officers in plain clothes arrived at the shrine. The local officer returned to his police box. Oh, it's the 80s police box. It's the 80s and his Japan police boxes exist. I forgot those were things. Oh my goodness. I'm seeing the doctor's box. I'm seeing the doctor's TARDIS just hanging out in Hanamizawa now. It's a great vision, right? I heard the whole story. We'll grab the shrine. Please call us if something happens. Detective Uishi will be here this evening. I was relieved to learn that Uishi would be coming here. Thank you so much. At least one person will be downstairs. I'm sorry. Is it okay if we use your restroom? Will you give us one of your spare keys just in case? Oh, sure, you can use the restroom too. My house is on the 2nd floor of a storage building. The 1st floor contains emergency supplies for the village, and I'm happy to know at least 1 officer will be there for me. The officers confirm their positions on the map of the shrine. 1 will be in the storage building, and 2 will walk the shrine property. 1 more officer will stand in front of the stairs that lead to the shrine. This world's Uishi is certainly reliable. In my other lives, he tended to look at me as his enemy, but in this world, he thinks I'm on his side. I'm sure it's because we all became friendly with him around the time we saved Satoko. It was unfortunate at the time, but perhaps the return of Toko's uncle was actually a necessary event. If Okanogi was right about Eri, he wouldn't be able to come near me with the 20 mountain dogs and 4 police officers protecting me. If Okanogi's the bad guy, they'd be discouraged from acting by the presence of the police. Not too different from giving garlic to a vampire. This is the best protection I've had in 100 years. And even so, am I still going to be killed tonight? Well, I need to do whatever I can. I should struggle as hard as possible. I won't give up. I won't even think about my next life. This is what enjoying life's all about. What living seriously is about. Fun, you there? Yeah. What do you think about all this? I have to admit, I've never seen something like this before. Is it wrong for me to expect something different this time? I'm not going to hope for anything. I'll just have to accept whatever the result is. Hanyu is acting like a bystander still. I knew she'd say something like that, but part of me was kind of hoping she'd be a bit more positive. You know, I'm actually with Rika here. I was kind of hoping Hanyu would be like, this might change things. But I think Hanyu is just actively avoiding learning anything, so she doesn't know what to expect. Upon hearing her say what she did, yeah, okay. She's still away. I always thought it was normal for her to be that way because she's a special existence. I also convinced myself I had to be an onlooker too since I was a similar being. Well, you're technically alive. You're not quite the same as her. I can't just let go of everything and become a bystander, though. I can't become just like her. Not yet, at any rate. Maybe she's achieved nirvana. You're not quite there yet, especially because it's not your goal. It seems like surviving's more important to you right now. I can't stop hoping for a better life for Rika Furude. The hope was betrayed so many times and my heart crushed countless more. That's why I stopped expecting anything to turn out the way I wanted. So, is Hanyu the same way? Her heart's been crushed so many times. Now she just doesn't expect anything? It seems logical. Are you also afraid of being hurt? I only lived 100 years. I know how frightening it is to have high expectations. Hanyu should be aware of that. She's lived longer than me. I always thought she was a special existence, but except for the fact she's invisible, everything about us is the same. She has the same thoughts and feelings as everyone else, and I still saw her as a special existence. That's why I just assumed her mind worked in a different way. I'm living for longer. I know there's more sad things than happy things in this world. Your hopes will always be betrayed. That's why I don't want to be hurt anymore. You're not expecting anything from this world either. I've hoped this world might be different, but do you think I'll be killed again? That's not what I'm thinking. Hanyu looked uncomfortable. She had no doubts I'd be killed that night. That's what it means to not have hope, but she can't own up to it because she doesn't want to hurt my feelings. Same as Satoko. You're waiting for a stroke of luck or a miracle to help you. You're afraid of fighting. You think being patient's the same as being strong. That's how I was until a while ago. Hanyu looked down and bit her lip. She couldn't deny what I said. She's acting just like Satoko. That's kinda true. I know you've heard it over and over. Miracles don't happen unless everyone works together. But that means you have to believe too. A miracle doesn't happen unless everyone believes in it. What I just said sounded as though I was blaming her for the miracle not happening. Maybe I was being a little too harsh on her. I stayed quiet and Hanyu continued to look at the floor, shaking. Then she looked up at me and spoke. I noticed the sadness, but also a bit of anger in her eyes. I can't even touch people or talk to them. I think I'm just like everyone else, even though all I do is watch. Do you understand how it feels not to be involved in anything? There was a slight severity in the tail end of Hanyu's speech. Except for me, she can't communicate with anyone in this world. She hates to be reminded of that. Sorry, let's stop. I don't want to have a fight. I don't want to spend the rest of the time I'm alive in this argument. I don't want to argue with you either. Let me say one thing. My friend. I don't want my friend to tell me not to expect too much out of my life. I'll apologize for that. You should try respecting my opinions too. She can be stubborn sometimes. Very stubborn, apparently. She seems weak on the outside and she always goes, ah. But she actually has a very strong moral code, one she wouldn't bend for anything. She apologized to me, but she wasn't being honest. She still wasn't expecting anything good to come from this world. She still thinks I'm dying pitifully. That's why she refuses to believe in miracles. I've been living with her long enough to read her mind. I feel bad for her in a sense. She's been living so long and lost all her hope. Well, are you gonna be the one to give her hope? Can you do it, Rika? Can you give Hanyu hope? Will we finally achieve that hope in the next arc, or will it be this arc? We beat something we thought we couldn't beat already in this arc? Will we beat one more thing? Hanyu told me to call her if anything else happened, and soon disappeared. I'm sure she's still around. She probably is still watching me as if she's watching a TV show. The time of my death is slowly approaching. Will I be able to survive this time? It's been a while since I faced this fear without drinking wine. Well, it's gonna be hard if there's an officer hanging out right beside you to just be like, ah, yes, this is grape juice. It's been sitting for a while. It's just grape juice. It tastes so good. You want a sip? It's like, I was left with nothing else to do after washing the dishes and cleaning the room. The mountain dogs and police were protecting me, and just in case, I figured I should leave something behind for Satoko. Should I write down a recipe for her in the notebook? Will she be happy if I leave a will for her? I laughed at my own foolishness. No one would be happy to read a will. If I die, they'll be devastated and wonder why I didn't talk to them. And that's how I felt when Satoko didn't ask for any help when her uncle was abusing her. I wonder, will I be killed before Satoko comes home? My memories of these days are never clear. The day I die is always vague in my recollections. It's fine if I'm murdered before Satoko gets home, but if I'm murdered after, then would they kill her along with me? I don't want that to happen. It's bad enough I end up killed. If Satoko is murdered along with me each time, that would be too much to bear. Just how much have I ignored other people's sadness with that rash idea that the world ends when I die? Thinking about that made me ashamed of myself. Yeah, how many times has Satoko been murdered? I turned on the TV to try and reduce the silence, but it didn't help. Worse, not only did the TV not help, it felt like it symbolized Hanyu and my allies, making me feel even more unpleasant. It was past lunch, nearly 3 p.m. School would be out soon. I'm not there today, they probably won't do a club activity. Satoko will be home shortly, or should be. Seems I'm going to survive until she gets home after all. If she comes home and asks me what's troubling me, I might end up telling her the truth. If I talk to someone, that person will be demoned away by the mountain dogs. That's why I never speak to anyone about it. I don't want my friends getting into danger, but if Satoko is also murdered likewise in every role because she was involved with me, then we're doomed to share the same fate. It's better to know the truth than to be killed without knowing what's going on, but I'm under strict security right now. I might be able to survive in this world. If that's the case, I shouldn't talk to her about it. It won't be so easy to talk to my friends after all. Moments later, I heard a surprised yell of Satoko coming from downstairs. She returned. It sounded like she was scared to see a stranger in our home. I'd have to tell her the police were here. That would be tantamount to telling her someone is out to kill me. I don't know how to explain it or how much I should tell her. However, my thoughts were soon interrupted by the noise of a crowd. Did Keiichi get the whole class here? Satoko hadn't come home alone. I'm home! Hey Rika, what's up with the officer downstairs? Why is that guy going to your house? What the heck did you do? Micha, that's not the right question. What happened to you, Rika? Some strangers on the trying grounds too. Are they also police officers? Isn't normal, you know? We don't know what's troubling you, but we're all here to cheer you up. It looks like something bad's going on. I couldn't stop laughing upon seeing everyone rush into my house asking the same questions. Well, this is going to be awkward. It made me feel as though being depressed all day had just been a waste of time. Rika, what on earth's so funny? You need to explain to us what's going on. There's nothing to explain. I'm getting murdered today. What? Everyone already knew what I've been telling people about how I was going to be killed, but they were surprised to hear it from my own mouth. Hey, Rika, I heard that from you yesterday. You told me you think someone's trying to kill you. I thought that was one of your jokes. That no, you're not fooling me anymore. You gotta talk to your friends. Keiichi spoke with a harsh tone as though I'd made him upset. But she has prophesied her own demise like 20 times. To be fair to her, she's like, said she's gonna be killed around now to like 10 people. As my friend, he must think it's unforgivable I didn't talk to him about it. He wasn't the only one feeling that way though. Every single one of them was looking at me with a worried expression on their faces. Rika, everyone here saved me. I want to do something for my friends as well. I'm glad to hear that. Remember what you told me? You told me to have the courage to fight. I mean, that's what the 20 bodyguards are, right? That's what the 20 bodyguards plus the like 4 police officers are. She's doing a good job. Look, you're not even fighting yourself. Satoko pointed out something I already realized, and I had no way to argue back. Oh, you put us in danger by talking to us, but all of us are already involved, no matter if you talk to us or not. Right, we're your friends, and if you're in danger, all of us are in danger too. When Satoko was in danger, we fought for her, remember? Same thing. Your life in danger. I think it's time for the Sonozaki family to step in. We're way more reliable than the police. Isn't that right, sis? That's right, you gotta talk to us. What kind of trouble are you in? Who's threatened to kill you? Based on how you're acting, I assume you don't know who it is. If you did know, it wouldn't be a big problem. Me? You're all so smart. You know everything even though I haven't talked to you yet. It's not time for jokes, Rike. You gotta talk to us. What happened? What's this about? You don't call the police unless you're really in danger. No, how dare you not? How dare you talk to the police before talking to us? Is this because you're uncomfortable talking? Is this something you're uncomfortable talking to us about? Rike never have any issues that'd be uncomfortable to talk about. Calm down, Satoko. Rika's the leader of the Furude. She's worshipped as the reincarnation of Oyashiro in the village. She might have been in trouble for a long time, even though we didn't know about it. Maybe she just didn't want to talk to us about such trouble because we're all trying to have a fun life here. It's probably what it was, right? So it has something to do with Rike and the village. It must involve those crazy old people worshipping Oyashiro-sama. Must have something to do with the curse. I know. I bet it's related to what happened to Tomitaki and Takano. Tomitaki's murder caused Rika's life to be in danger. That's too big a leap. Crazy to think someone's trying to kill her anyway. Rika's bound by more obligations than we know. She probably couldn't talk about them. I'm right, aren't I? It's not a very fun topic. Which is why you couldn't tell your friends, right? I can't believe this. Is it really true, Rika? Is it really true you're involved in Tomitaki's murder case? I remained silent with my mouth open. I hadn't answered any questions, but they continued to ask, and eventually hit the nail on the head. It was more surprising than anything, but then again, these are, after all, my beloved clubmates. And they seem to be bright young students. I laughed once more. My issues and secrets are so devastating to me, but they stopped sounding like a big deal when everyone talked about them together. They knew exactly what was going on without me saying a word, and in that moment I realized just how powerless I am. I had to tip my hat to them. Everything seemed foolish now, and so I decided to tell them everything. If you want me to talk, I will. But I'm sure you won't believe me. Oh, we will. As long as you tell us the truth, we'll never doubt it. Okay. Everyone's expression turned grave as they vowed not to make light of anything I told them. Well, this is gonna sound crazy, but here goes nothing. And so I'm gonna tell them everything. I want to see if they really believe me or not. In that case, I'll tell you. I think I'm being targeted by the same person who killed Tomitaki and Takano. Are they the true culprit behind the mysterious deaths? I don't know. It's possible. I don't understand. Why would Tomitaki and Takano's murder want to kill Rika? Uji thinks Takano is the culprit. Okanogi thinks Iri is the culprit. Either way, it sounds like someone from Tokyo is trying to kill me. I can't tell if it's Takano or Iri, but I do know that to them I'm like a trump card. In order to explain everything, I need to talk to them about the relationship between Inamizawa, Tokyo, and the clinic. I don't think they'll believe me. It's a ridiculous story, but who'd ever believe it if not for my friends? You'll all be in danger if I talk to you about it. Are you sure you still want to hear it? Of course, if you're in danger, we're in danger. Everyone nodded at Keishi's words. Well then. Time for a story. I want to see how everyone reacts. I want to ascertain what friendship is all about. With a nod of my own, I opened my mouth and began to explain. There's a disease unique to Hinamizawa. I'm not sure what it's officially called, but I've known it as Hinamizawa syndrome. Everyone glanced back and forth when I mentioned the term. They'd never heard of it. The name Hinamizawa syndrome has actually been around since before the war. It's a germ for severe homesickness and mental instability that people from Hinamizawa experience and outside the village. People in Hinamizawa refused to leave the village ever since the era of Onikafuchi. The villagers believed that they'd be cursed by Oyashiro if they left, and the people who did often came back because of that curse. In general, it was only thought of as severe homesickness, but during the war, soldiers from Hinamizawa became mentally deranged in faraway places. It sometimes happens in war, but what was unique about the soldiers from Hinamizawa was the way they killed their comrades and committed suicide at the end. One doctor became curious about these cases and studied the soldiers, and that's when they found out it was a disease found in Hinamizawa. I like how the worm plague idea is actually real. According to this doctor, their strange behavior was not the result of their culture, but a mental disease triggered by external circumstances. A mental disease with an external cause is different from a psychological illness. It's a result of a physical disorder and causes people to become mentally unstable when something triggers it. There are 3 categories of externally caused mental diseases: traumatically induced, substance abuse, and chemical imbalance induced. Traumatically induced disorders are cases resulting from damage to the brain or trauma or infection. That's the reason personalities can change as a result of head injuries. Substance abuse refers to the case where drugs, alcohol, stimulants, things like that influence the mind. And the last category is chemical imbalances, cases where some ailment in the patient's body causes abnormal secretions of bodily chemicals, which then influence the brain's functions. It may sound odd, but it's been said that people tend to become depressed when they have a cold. We've all experienced the ways in which physical sickness can cause negative emotion. However, with chemical imbalances, this is more direct. People's emotions aren't born from our hearts. Everyone should know logically they're the result of chemicals secreted by organs in our body as necessary. So when the organs operating the secretion of those emotional controllers malfunction, it causes them to secrete abnormal amounts. The thyroid gland, for example, secretes hormones that regulate emotions. When that gland's defective, the balance of those hormones becomes unstable, causing people to not only have a physical sickness, but a mental sickness like depression. People don't get mentally ill because of mental problems. Human beings are made out of meat. We get mentally ill when the meat's defective. Defective meat. That's what I'm going to call sick people. Defective meat. The doctor studying Hinamizawa syndrome came up with a theory. He suggested there's a pathogen endemic to Hinamizawa. Its hosts stray too far from home, and it affects the chemicals in their brain, causing them to hallucinate. The villagers' belief in Oyashiro is related to this endemic disease. People in Onagafuchi village knew about the syndrome. We're going back to the worm disease from the previous arcs. They knew they couldn't survive outside the village, and they didn't want anyone else to enter the village because they'd be infected. So they took it as a curse, not a sickness. The most significant form of this disease is antisocial behavior and an extreme persecution complex. The eventual suicide caused by defects in the lymph nodes are another characteristic. The unusual behavior of terminal patients is what inspired the legend of the demons coming out of the swamp and attacking villagers. Basically, sick villagers developed severe persecution complex and wound up killing other villagers. According to the war, other fellow soldiers, after a long time, survivors started to comprehend its rules. They discovered the disease is incurable once you contract it, at least so far. That's why they started barring outsiders from entering the village. Once you become ill, you develop a persecution complex. It can happen to anyone in the village. The doctrine of Oyashiro says the blood of humans and demons is mixed together, and Oyashiro has control over the violent blood of demons. People said you'd be cursed if you didn't follow the rules. It could also be understood to mean as long as you follow the rules, you could cope with the disease. This is what it's meant by the scripture in Oyashiro's legend that says they appeared, unified the humans and demons, and made them live together in this village. Then there was the important part. The rules to prevent symptoms from appearing. The rules are the taboos, and people were strictly taught Oyashiro would curse them if they broke them. The horrible, bloody traditions of the village were performed in order to force people to respect them. There are several ways to keep the disease under control, but there are two main conditions for doing so. The first is to prevent suspicion. When the villagers are suspicious of someone, it can trigger their persecution complex, leading them to developing terminal symptoms. That's why we made sure to have a tightly knit community so people wouldn't suspect another. Since the terror of Oyashiro-sama's curse is emphasized, many don't know this, but she's also a god of marriage and neighborly love. However, this condition is not important as the other one. Indeed, Oyashiro isn't even recognized as a god of friendship in Hinamizawa anymore, and is only worshipped as such in Okinomiya's Hirosaka district. For the other condition, this one is clear and was practiced strictly. If villagers leave, they will fall ill quickly, proportional to the distance from the village. Villagers nowadays do not get sick as rapidly, even if they leave town or go to the country for a long time, but long ago they'd fall ill as soon as they left the village. It's unfortunate Keiichi got infected so soon after he moved to the village. It was unfortunate he got sick because he left the village for a few days to go to his relative's funeral in that one world. That's why Hanyu felt so bad for him that time and kept on apologizing over and over. Although, no matter how much she apologized, he never heard her voice. This turned into a long discussion, but these rules etched into the curse represent the ancient wisdom of how to cope with the syndrome, so you can't ever leave the town. Is there any way to use this disease for military purposes? Well, the aforementioned doctor insisted there was, but the military didn't listen to him at the time. They were interested in developing a weapon that could make a dramatic change to the war effort. They didn't have money to spare for the research of a strange disease. One that could kill everyone? One that could drive an entire population insane? That seems insanely useful. In this way, research on Hinamizawa syndrome was abandoned. But... then the war ended. Japan started its reconstruction under American leadership, and some powerful people in the political world. They just didn't want to accept the American way of thinking. Some of them were fired by GHQ, so they stayed on as advisors to the government, since Japan has a culture of respecting the elderly. Eventually, a political organization was formed, the object of which was to restore Japan to the way it was before the war. In the beginning, they were very small. It was just a gathering of 2 or 3 individuals sharing the same ideals, blowing hot air at a restaurant. Those 2 or 3 hit off with each other and grew to the size of a class reunion. It became a sizable organization. And from there, eventually it became a political one. Well, more accurate to call them a secret society. This secret society came to be called by the name of the place where it was based. Tokyo. There are many mysteries about Tokyo. The one thing I know for sure is that it's composed of old men from Japan's political stage with strong power to indirectly influence the government and vast assets, meaning they can work from the shadows. They were also connected to various corporations, and their goal was to return Japan to the way it was before the war. Good luck, my dudes. Of course, that's a pretty ridiculous goal, yeah. It was nothing more than an idea in their minds after the war, back when they were still bowing their heads to the occupation forces of those white barbarians. It's been 30 more years. You making any progress? It's been almost 40 years. You guys making any progress? Once Japan's post-war reconstruction began, Tokyo steadily became a shell of its former self. But it didn't totally become a shell, it culled the fat. Japan regained its peace, and years passed. However, some people continued to believe Japan had been better before the war, and they were determined to return the country to those times. Maybe. So Tokyo plotted how to restore pre-war Japan. From many angles. They approached the problem economically, internationally, and militarily as well. Japan has no nuclear armaments due to the 3 non-nuclear principles. In other words, the country has to brown-nose America as long as they hold nukes. Number 1 priority is to be independent from America. They want this country to be on equal footing and to obtain a weapon of mass destruction that isn't nuclear in nature. So chemical. That's why they started thinking about utilizing Hinamizawa syndrome, but they couldn't study it openly. In order to utilize it for military purposes, they had to hide the existence of the disease itself. So they enlisted a young researcher, Kyosuke Irie. Yeah, art for 500 points is fairly reasonable. I need to make it clear Irie isn't some far-right supporter of this secret society. He's just a young, capable doctor and an earnest researcher. He published an innovative thesis, but other academics thought he was too radical. However, that convinced Tokyo he's the only researcher suitable to study the syndrome. As someone young and ambitious, Irie was thrilled to take on the project of studying a rare disease with a large budget, a large staff, and his own facility. It's everything you could want if you're a researcher, right? But researching the disease would mean he'd end up infected too. No one would want to take on such a dangerous research. He really was too young, with his other option being wearing down his youth. Working hard at the night shift for a local practice, he wanted to answer the expectations of the sponsor, who carefully selected him. In the end, he was able to uncover that, as hypothesized, the syndrome was a unique infectious disease and developed both a treatment and a vaccine. Irie was extremely talented. The Irie Institute was formed to study the disease. He's not doing too bad. Irie was nominally the head of the organization, but Tokyo still sent out a supervisor because when all was said and done, he's just a researcher. That supervisor was Mio Takano. Takano's job at the Institute is to act as a go-between for Tokyo and Irie, manage the research progress, and preserve its secrecy. The latter was the most important part of the job. She had to do her best to prevent people from finding that Irie was researching the disease, or even that it exists at all. The Mountain Dogs were formed for that purpose. They were under Takano's command, and their job is to prevent the Institute's secrets from being discovered. The Mountain Dogs are a special forces unit specializing in unconventional warfare owned by Tokyo, with its vast influence over the SDF. Tokyo set their eyes on the likelihood that a small elite squad of covert operatives would be a trump card in the anti-nuke era. I mean, that might be a good weapon, especially if you're up against unarmed civilians. Pretty good answer. They vigorously investigated those options. It was a worldwide trend since the Cold War. Everyone avoided sending troops directly to their enemy's doorstep. Japan was also trying to be part of that world. And as a result, by 1983, even the police were forming secret special forces units. Prefectural Police Squad 2. The ones who intervened when Reina laid siege to her school changed their name to Zero Company and grew into an anti-terrorism squad handling hijackings around the Kansai airport area. The National Police Squad. Agency Squad 6 was formed as a counter-terrorism squad for Narita Airport 2. They later changed their name to 7th Company as well. They theorized that in a world where nations possess nukes they can't use, small elite forces disrupting metropolitan areas would be the new way of waging war, and in 1977 they developed the SAT's predecessor, the Special Task Force, SAP, to serve as national police agency's trump card in securing the peace. Likewise, the Japanese Coast Guard established their Special Task Force SST in anticipation of unconventional warfare on the coast. There are several known Special Forces units in Japan. When they hear a phrase like Special Forces, most people think of a movie or a comic book. These units, they actually exist. They protect Japan in secret. During the famous incident of suspicious boats off the coast of Noto Peninsula, the news reported the helicopter squad trained in gun paddles was headed there, but was recalled because of suspicious boats sank. But that was because the Coast Guard's SST acted. The news never mentions the SST or any other Special Forces unit, though. All of these units are established after Tokyo made a suggestion to the government. Researching tactics under the name of peace and order works perfectly for Tokyo. Since the mid-century anti-war movement made people resent those forces, special units have been kept a secret as of 1983. Furthermore, these units are not all formed under the jurisdiction of the police. There are many other military units kept in secret from the average citizen. The Mountain Dogs are one of those. They specialize in kidnapping, espionage, and preserving secrecy. You might as well call them an assassination unit. Well, that's what they are. They were around during the dam conflict as well. Tokyo worked to put an end to the project because of the impact it would have on Erie's research. The dogs were the ones who kidnapped the Minister of Construction's grandson. Most people believe the Sonozakis are at the center of the movement, but in reality, they were responsible for many of the things the Sonozakis were accused of. In that sense, the existence of the Sonozaki family was an advantage to the dogs. Their main job after the dam conflict ended had been to continue keeping the disease hidden from the public. With the spread of information networks in the modern age, the media jumped on unusual incidents and quickly aired it to the whole nation. Luckily, we're in the middle of fucking nowhere. Tokyo doesn't want the disease to be known nationwide since they're trying to utilize it for their own purposes. The main task of the Mountain Dogs is to kidnap people suffering from Hinamizawa syndrome. They pose as gardeners, but in reality they patrol the village to make sure nothing strange happens. They're the ones who demon away people who go missing. They're probably also involved in some of the mysterious deaths, too. Some or all of them. The last important person is Jiro Tomitake. Well, there we go. They're the people who killed everyone. We have it revealed. Rike has known this whole time who the killers are. And the strange men in the van were. Okay. The last important person is Jiro Tomitake. I don't know his real name. He's an auditor sent from Tokyo 4 times a year. He came to check on the progress of the research and outlined requests from Tokyo, discussing the research budget with Erie too. He got the observation report on Erie from Takano. Poor Tomitake. Yeah, but he's also planning on making Japan, he's also like a huge Japanese nationalist, so we feel less bad for him now. Because he wants Japan to resume conquering half of fucking Asia. So I don't feel as bad for him now. Right? Right? You're like, oh, remember Nanjing? That was a lot of fun, wasn't it? And Tomitake literally signed up to help them try and reclaim all their former glories in Korea and China. Korea, China, Indonesia, Philippines? Huh? Yeah. What's the point of conquering when you get what you want through trade? I mean, I'm just saying that's what the goal of Tokyo has been explicitly stated to be, is to restore Japan to the way it was before the disaster of the war. So, they'd like a nice big chunk of China, Korea, and Southeast Asia. Feeling slightly less bad for him, as he's also probably like born in the 40s. He's probably born in the 40s, honestly. Make weird niche products. There's stuff like anime and shit across the world. Actually, you probably want mass market stuff, and you get all the goods you ever want. Until someone like America goes paranoid and kills your export industry. Oh wait, that actually happened. Japan had a big export industry after the war. They were making cars. And I believe America put an embargo on them and killed their economy. So you can say that's a good you can say it's a good idea to do that, but I can see why but they're still their economy is still recovering from that. Because before China being ascendant was all the rage, it was actually Japan. It was actually the Japanese economic dominance people were terrified about. And America acted swiftly and crushed their export economy. And that's why so many Japanese countries, so many Japanese companies are like super focused on just the Japanese domestic market. Because if they're like 30 years old, if they're like, well, not 30 years old now, if they're like around in the 70s, so like the old companies, if they were around in the 70s, they probably remember getting completely locked out of doing fucking anything, and having like every company get fucking trashed because they were relying on exports. So it does have its downsides. Now, do I think that would happen again today? No, but it's pretty hard to convince people. I feel like it's hard to convince people after they've seen that. Maybe you gotta wait another 50 years for people to think outside of it. It'd be nice to have multiple Asian production giants on par with Japan or China. Yeah, it'd be kind of cool. There's a decent amount of potential in the region. Obviously, China, with its superior landmass and resources and population, has quite the edge on people. But I mean, I think Singapore and Taiwan are certainly showing you that you don't necessarily need a ton of landmass to be relevant in a global market. For all, Taiwan's pretty fucking tiny, and so is Singapore, right? Relatively speaking, they're barely noticeable on the. I mean, Singapore's like literally a city. It's absurdly tiny. It's literally a dot on a map, but they seem to be managing pretty well for themselves. They knew how to get in. I think they still managed. Is they still manufacture hard drives there? I forget what they do. Anyway, so he got the observation report on Erie from Takano. This was his purpose. Erie started out by studying the autopsy results of dead villagers, and he discovered many answers from that. In 1979, the dogs kidnapped the culprit behind the murder of the construction chief, who was a terminal patient of Hinamizawa syndrome. The nature of the disease was dramatically clarified. Their research made rapid progress after that, and they discovered a vaccine, medication, other methods of treatment for the disease. At the same time, they continued to investigate how to utilize it for military purposes. Yeah. One of the interesting findings of the research was that the pathogen can only be found when the patient is still alive. On top of that, they couldn't detect the presence of the pathogen unless they used a certain inhumane method. In other words, it's impossible to detect the pathogen by normal means. A certain inhumane method. I wonder what that is. It left almost no trace, and the unusual symptoms it produced seemed like voluntary behavior, so they concluded the disease could be used to their advantage. But Tokyo has been going through some changes. It's been 50 years since the war ended. The leaders in the shadows behind the government who ruled from the center of Tokyo began growing infirm and opening up seats, steadily passing their leadership to a new generation. Only when alive, that's why it's undetectable. The organization has started to shift. Of course, the purpose has remained the same. It's still a secret society of ultra-nationalists who want Japan to be at the top of the world. However, their ambition to start a war with America and take over the world has diminished. Tokyo directed its priorities towards the economy, international affairs, and education. That doesn't mean those ambitions are gone entirely. Several seniors still alive retain those ambitions. Tokyo continues to finance military research, but for the present day Tokyo, Erie's research is something of an embarrassment. The new Tokyo isn't interested in its project and announced they're going to cut their budget as soon as those seniors pass. However, Erie objected to the plan. He appealed for the continuation of his research. Give the world more anime, sell more merch. Be nice. This is what Okanogi was talking about. Erie is in disagreement with Tokyo. Erie's research has been making great progress. They've discovered various treatments and testing methods. He's even starting to develop a treatment plan for the whole village. That's probably why he doesn't want to stop. There's so many people he could help. If they cut his funding, his research would end without result. Tokyo had a discussion with Irie through Tomitake, and they decided to shut down his research partially, but not fully. However, they told him to immediately stop researching military applications of the disease and destroy all the research data related to that. He had little interest in weaponizing it, so he accepted those terms immediately. Tokyo probably believed it's better to let him find a cure than terminate the project entirely. At this point, he considers himself one of the villagers. Perhaps exterminating the disease, infecting them without their knowledge, is his way of atoning for using them to advance his research and reputation. And also lets him leave the town because he's infected too, right? Sell more merch, sell tracks of OSTs, have the rest of the world hooked up to VR headsets, watching anime all day. The easiest way to control people? Probably. You don't need to be so extreme either. Both Tokyo and Irie agreed to fully terminate his research as soon as he discovered a way to completely eradicate Hinamizawa syndrome. Irie made a plan for the next 3 years and promised he'd find a resolution by 1986 at the latest. The meeting they had this June was to discuss the plan and budget for the next 3 years. Which brings us to the beginning. One theory goes he's in opposition with Tokyo and acting as his trump card, he's going to kill Rika. The other is that Takano killed Tomitake, and as her trump card, she's going to kill Rika Furude. I suppose I need to explain why Rika can be a trump card. That's a good question. The answer lies in the ancient traditions of Hinamizawa. Supposedly, members of Furude have the blood of Oyashiro in their veins. I explained earlier Oyashiro was made up as a method for having people cope with the disease. However, that's not true. For demons, the pathogens, to survive, a certain being must be present. That being is the successor of the Hinamizawa family line. The truth behind the advent of Oyashiro-sama and the coexistence of human and demons is that Oyashiro is actually queen of the village. According to Irie's research, Rika is adored by the village not only because she's a charming little girl, but because she's the queen carrier. Infected patients are unconsciously driven to protect their queen. Irie says that this is done with pheromones. Pheromones, guys. Rika's mother was also adored by everyone since she was little. However, as soon as she gave birth, people's attention quickly shifted to Rika. Irie calls it the succession of the throne. The queen is a precious existence to the people in this village. There are theories that carriers of the disease are unable to survive when away from the queen, not from the village itself. Irie's research indicates the queen can only survive in Hinamizawa, and infected patients can only stay alive when they're around her. But this is just a theory. A film theory. Oh, sorry, wrong channel. How do they let her be surrounded by people who want her dead? They aren't aware that they want her dead. I think that's the problem. Surprisingly, however, the doctor who first discovered the syndrome was also aware of the existence of the queen. The doctor was knowledgeable of Hinamizawa's culture and interested in how much value the village placed on the Furude family. He theorized that the queen lying in the Furude bloodline might have the power to manipulate the whole village. The truth is yet unknown, but perhaps the Furude family really has held such power since ancient times, miraculous power that would make them perfect for serving in the priesthood. The only thing Rika can do is be doted on the villagers for now. If this is true, the question of what would happen if the queen disappeared from the village. During the war, a doctor prophesied that if the queen died, all the infected would show terminal symptoms, and the whole village would be wiped out. He advocated for strict preservation of the host. My blood's being drained? Oh dear. Oh dear. Rika is important to Tokyo not because Irie found many answers after running tests on her body. If Rika dies, the 2,000 people in Hinamizawa turn into demons. It would happen too fast for the people to realize they're getting sick. They'll be each overcome with a violent persecution complex and start killing each other in fear. That's why the mountain dogs protect the queen, Rika Furude. Her death spells the end of the whole village. And that's why Rika is the trump card for those who know she's the center of the epidemic. This is the story of Hinamizawa, my friends. Our tale begins in June 1983. Tokyo's liaison found dead of the disease even though he was vaccinated against it. On the same night, Takano was kidnapped and murdered, though I don't know for sure if she's really dead or not. Rika is also going to be murdered soon enough. While I've suspected Eri and Takano, this is my first time doubting Tokyo. I always thought they were on my side. They had to be. My death would lead to nothing but disaster. At the same time, there might be people in Tokyo who could use my death as a card. I never considered there were opposing factions in Tokyo. I guess I was naive enough to not realize Tokyo had internal problems due to the generation gap. Anyway, I wouldn't be feeling this way if I didn't suspect Takano might still be alive. I feel I'm starting to see the greater picture. It's possible Takano is the victim and Eri is the bad guy. The dogs might be on my side, or they might be assassins who are trying to kill me. I was too scared to choose a wine that might be at risk of having something poisonous mixed in which case I would rest assured with a fresh, unopened bottle, even if it was a little bad. After telling everything to my friends, I realized I could only trust them and the police. I'm kinda dumb. I thought I was thinking so hard, but I never actually understood. After all this time, I made things clear by talking about them with my friends. I never have thought it would make such a big difference. And her friends are just like, what the fuck? We're supposed to believe this? And they're like, shit, we were told to believe it. And that's the end of my story. As I thought, everyone was staring at me with their mouths open in shock, like, what the fuck did I just witness? I can totally see them doing that too. I'm afraid we're not going to get too much deeper into the mysteries of Hinamizawa tonight. After that big reveal, I think we might have to take a break.